Call this meeting to order. Please rise. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, just do a quick roll call. I think we're good.
Thank you.
We're going to discuss it during the regular meeting.
Enjoy, it's a great place.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, all of you.
Okay, roll call.
Mayor Caucus?
Here.
Mrs. Pasio? Here. Mr. Ranieri?
Here.
Mrs. Moore? Here. Mr. Farrell?
Here.
Mrs. Kelly? Here. Mr. Root?
Here.
Mr. Long?
Here.
Mr. Bayshore?
Here.
And Mr. Wright?
Okay. Public notice of this meeting pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act has been given by the clerk in the following manner. One, posted on the bulletin board in the Borough Clerk's office on January 6, 2015, and emailed to the Retrospect and Cover Post on January 6, 2015. Obviously, that was a little informal. I don't think if anybody has any questions, we do have it on our agenda to at least discuss it, but it'll be a formal appointment at our next council meeting for our judge. We have another special guest here this evening. We have Mr. Harris, Mr. Bill Harris. He's going to present his COA report. We received a letter about a month ago from the state directing us to fill in the blanks of some of the stuff we had not finished in the past. So Mr. Harris had started the process many years ago for the borough, and it made sense to call him back to help us clean this up, and he's going to come up and give us a presentation about this.
Thank you, Mayor. Hello, everybody. I don't know most of you, but my name's Bill Harris. I'm a licensed professional planner, and I've done a number of housing elements and fair share plans that have been approved by COA or are still sitting in a closet somewhere up there that we never acted on. In 2006 to 2008, we worked on what was called a round 3 plan for the borough. It was not filed. But one of the things, as the mayor pointed out, was we had to fill in some blanks. In the second round plan that was filed and approved by COA, there were essentially 3 projects proposed, 2 of which I'm sure you're familiar with. One was the Runnemede house that has 82 apartments, of which 81 are occupied by low-income families, and there's one employees unit that's there. And then you've participated since the late 70s in the Camden County Rehab Program that helps low-income and moderate-income homeowners keep their properties up to code, so they're income eligible. Then there was a third project that we needed to put in to meet the COA requirement of a certain number of units, and it was a municipal rental rehab program that envisioned possibly taking FHA-owned houses or foreclosures and renovating them and renting them out. That project did not go forward. To make a long story short, even though we all know that Runnemede House was built and has been occupied for years, and that you've been participating since 1979 or 80 in the county rehab program, the bean counters, the nice people at COA, don't see any proof of that by way of identifying deed restrictions on the property or who's living in there, not so much who, but how much income they earn or receive, or what units were rehabilitated and whether or not a major system was repaired or replaced. So to make a long story short, we went over and visited with Maureen Massanova-Burke over at the Runnemede office, and I got her most recent. She's way over-regulated. She has like 3 different funding sources she reports to. And every January she does a report to that's for the low-income housing tax credit program in the IRS. She has to certify that people living there meet the income restrictions on the property, which she does diligently. So we utilize that as a source document to fill in all the blanks. And what I'm giving you is a hard copy of what's in an electronic system that I had to enter for each apartment. To get credit for those 81 units. And then secondly, I contacted Gino Lewis and Bob Kloss over at the Camden County Improvement Authority to oversee the rehab program and got a printout of all the rehab work that was being done in the borough to justify the 10 credits that we claimed. So essentially, that's what this report is. It doesn't, it's to give you documentation for the credits that you claim. It has nothing to do with all the litigation that you may have heard about over the unconstitutionality of the round tree rules. And Joyce was kind enough to send me a copy of some correspondence from the New Jersey Builders Association and the Fair Share Housing Center, which were both plaintiffs in the case that caused the rules to be thrown out. And there are some obligations, but I think in the event that the borough decides to do something to avert any builder's remedy lawsuits, that it would not be a painful act to have to do that, or for you to turn your zoning or your master plan upside down.
If you could explain that a little bit to the members of council, that the reason that COA exists and the reason we're doing all this is to avoid litigation under a builder's remedy. Could you just briefly explain that?
Yes,
to them?
back in the early 70s, there was a court case called the Mount Laurel decision, and went all the way to the Supreme Court. It was filed by Peter O'Connor and Carl Biscayne, and Peter's now remains the president of the Fair Share Housing Center, he's still active. And they were able to convince the court that a person has a constitutional right to live in a community, whether or not they can afford to. Essentially, I'm kind of oversimplifying
It's
a
okay, you're allowed.
50-some-page decision.
You're allowed to do that.
That created a lot of litigation. Some towns made an effort to comply. Rules were fuzzy. The people generating the numbers as to what a fair share amount was by town was challenged. Then there was another decision, Mount Laurel 2, that further defined how the methodology was supposed to be done. And then the legislature, seeing some chaos back in the early 80s, tried to create some sanity. So they created this organization called the Council on Affordable Housing, which would provide a vehicle for a town to submit a plan that was an amendment to their master plan called a housing element, where you would have the opportunity to determine what your own need was based on a rational planning approach.
So COA is legislative.
COA was created as a result of the Fair Housing Act of 1983, that's correct. And they're appointed by the governor, and members sit on the board of the budget governor. COA oversaw plans, and when a municipality acts in good faith and submits a plan to COA, that protects them from what is called a builder's remedy lawsuit, whereby somebody can come in and say, you haven't upgraded or maintained your planning documents, or your plan is phony because you're zoning large tracts of land for office buildings that there's no market for, and you're just doing that to take it out of development. You don't want housing there. That's kind of an egregious example of that. So certain advocacy groups and certain builders who are in the business of building homes, actually, they were able to come in and go in front of the judge and say, this town hasn't acted in good faith, and this is, we want to get 20 units per acre, and when the zoning either doesn't allow for the housing, or only allows maybe 3 or 4 units per acre. So that created the builder's remedy threat is protected when you file a plan that shows what you think your need is, where it should be, and how you're going to go about having it funded. Not necessarily with borough dollars, but with providing zoning incentives for private developers to build different types of housing, or to use your zoning tools to increase densities. Or some communities, I used to work for East Windsor, they were very aggressive in working with group home providers, because a group home is for developmentally disabled people. Instead, a bedroom counts as a unit. So if you have a 4-bedroom group home that's supervised, that counts as 4 units that you don't have to build. And typically, they don't create school children. So you're dealing with adults that are...
And the borough has one of those.
Yes, that's correct, and then, thank you, and that would count for 5 credits.
And that's on Davis, it's not far from where I live, and it's...
I mean, I have some in my neighborhood. There's
it's
people
not a
that
problem.
That's fine.
Yeah, it's how-
very
it's
close
how-
to-
Every year.
Yeah, it's how the clients are, call it supervised or monitored, is the key. You know, that's important.
But
So-
this filing you did, was this the end of our second round?
This was the cleaning up, filling in the blanks for the second round. Right now, from a COA standpoint, the only towns that have some protection are those that had gotten their third round plans approved under the rules that were unconstitutional, or that filed a plan that's still in review. And I have two of those that are in limbo that are sitting there. So, in effect, you do have some, quote, exposure. But
It's minimal in our town.
but minimal
Very
and easily addressed without any, in my view, strain on the municipal budget, because the numbers, you had to show 15 what they call present need or rehab units. Well, you've exceeded that. You've done the 10 that you said you were going to do, and you've done a total of 31 altogether. So that leaves 21 that goes towards the 15 unit obligation. So your rehab's fine. They require you to do 40 new units under the from the prior round. Well, half of that can be addressed with the units at Brunson House. And the reason why in COA's methodology it's only half is because you can only address under the rules that were in effect for the prior round, you can only address half of your obligation with senior citizen units, because some towns might have only done senior housing and not created family options. So 20 of the 40 is covered, plus the 5 from the group home that we know of. So that leaves possible need for doing 15 units or facilitating the development of 15 units somewhere in the community to satisfy your prior round obligation. The round 3 obligation, the one that was under a challenge and was determined unconstitutional, your obligation is 0. So cumulatively, the only thing we might have to look to do is to maybe do an infill housing program, or look for a couple more group homes, or maybe look at possible conversion of existing units and do it like create a large single-family home into a duplex, put an accessory use on it for a senior citizen. So it's something of that sort, but it's minimal, in my opinion.
So it doesn't look like it. You hear a lot about COA. It's mostly about these communities that are not built out. I mean, we
Right.
are built out. We have one tract of land left, about 18 acres.
That's the only thing.
That's the only one that could be that could be a problem if the building group comes in to develop that.
That's some of the history of litigation.
Yet, or to challenge, things like that. So the round 3 is something we may need to look
Yeah.
at. But right now, if you understand, the Supreme Court has sent it back to all the lower courts.
That's right.
So you have, how many districts are there?
I think
20?
there's
13 judges.
13 judges. Are
Each
doing-
independently looking at making a ruling for their area. It's insanity.
Yeah.
Because the legislature should stand up and just get it done. They should fix the problem, and that's what's not happening. Because it wasn't a tie, there was the Affordable Council.
It was a vote, yeah.
It was a vote, and it
Deadlock.
was deadlock, so genius.
Yeah. That makes sense. Or-
And that's it. So I think that's about it. I mean, if that's what you have to hand
Yeah, I
out. We
just
just have
think,
to sign this, myself and Joyce have to sign it.
Sign
I
it, and then
think.
I'll make copies for you, and it's actually, all the data's already been electronically.
It's all electronic.
I've certified that
You saw us sign it.
I went over there and
So we'll sign it right now. I mean, there's no real vote to this. It was just, like I said, it was just.
It's an
This is
administrative.
data that went back to 2006 and 8 and
Yeah.
things like that, so. Just didn't get done.
Thank you.
We do a lot.
Thanks for not
Very
serving.
important. Very important. Now we know where we stand.
And this all stems from a letter. Just a letter from the state manager.
How's work?
Joyce signs there.
No, they're not. That's crazy. You want me to print here or not? 15. 15.
Thank you very much. Good night. Take care.
Okay, we're going to dispense with that's not in order. We have another guest this evening, because we're dealing with, people who come to see us, we're going to deal with them first. Tom, would you like to come up, please, and introduce yourself? Everyone on council has been aware of the discussion about your position tonight, but you get to meet everybody, and I think I've introduced everyone, so hopefully you know.
Okay, so I'm Tom Shannon. I'm just going to give you a few minutes, just a few minutes, and then whatever questions or thoughts you have, I'd be happy to, come around with you. But about our company, Jersey Professional Management's been in business for 25 years. We do one thing, which is provide consulting services to municipal governments. It might be in the form of a temporary administrator, temporary public works director, a department that needs fixing up, or recruiting a new person. Those are the kinds of things that we do. So that's the kind of work that we do. There's two things about us that you need to know. Again, 25 years, we've never made a political contribution to anyone, anywhere, anytime. No offense, Mayor, not even a mayor's dance ticket or something. And that's purposeful, both because we're mostly all municipal administrators. A lot of us are anyway, and we've worked with both sides of the fence, and had to be nonpartisan in what we do. And secondly, from a business point of view, I mean, it just can't be out there in the marketplace that we made contributions on one side or another. So we certainly are very proud of that. The second thing is that our style of doing business is very, very interactive. We're going to talk a lot, and I'm going to listen to you a lot too. But that's the way that we work. Be it with, in this case, the Public Works fellows, the staff here who service them, the residents who need their services, you all who gain or suffer by their performance. So there'll be a lot of talking, a lot of communicating, and that makes me think of email, and it makes me think of a conversation that I had with Rich and Mayor about accountability. And I'll get to that in a second. But okay, good. Anyway, so as far as I'm concerned, again, I'm Tom Shannon. The quick thing on me is I started out as an engineer, went to school and graduate school as an engineer, was a township engineer, the public works director, I'm a construction official. I had a very cool assignment a couple of years ago. I was in the city of Hoboken being their construction official when Sandy hit. And they got devastated, as you may know, perhaps worse than anyone. And that was a really once-in-a-lifetime experience to try to help thousands and thousands of people who were just out of their grade level or subgrade level units. The whole town filled up like a bathtub for a week or two. Anyway, so I do a lot of different sorts of things. I've been an administrator, I've been a public works director, I've been a township engineer. I was an administrator or manager in 3 towns in my career, being Princeton, Westfield, and Hillsborough Township in Somerset County. In my consulting career, the last 12 years, I guess I've served about 15 towns in public works capacities of either serving as their public works director or doing consulting services to try to help them out in different aspects of their performance. So this is turf that is familiar to me, as I said, is it Beth? Beth. I said Beverly, I said to you before, there's no cookie cutter. Every public works department is different. It's unique. You go in with a blank slate and see what you have and just unravel it piece by piece like you were taking an engine apart and put it hopefully back together in a better way than you found it. I did, just to make mention, big towns, small towns, you may know that I was over in Gloucester Township for 6 months as their public works director last year. So that was great, and that's one kind of a public works department. They have 60 some odd employees, $3 million building, all of that. But on the other side of the coin, I've had plenty of, right? So I've also been up the road to, as I told Mayor and Rich, Burlington City, where they have a public works department of about 8 or 9 guys, and they had under terrific duress, and I had to come into that situation and help them, and it worked out well. So the point is, I've seen all different kinds of public works departments. One of the great things about my job is that you see something new, you learn something new, you're constantly seeing and learning new and different things. And you can put all of that together in a way that you don't have a cookie cutter, but you just look at what you're seeing and you say, wow, that reminds me of the situation, or we did that, or whatever. So there's a lot of that kind of expertise that I think I can bring to you and help you with this department. Like any manager, I can be a lot of different ways. My nature is I'm a nice guy, so that's good. But if I need to be firm or even harsh, if that's what's called for in the situation, then that's appropriate. If I need to be a mentor sometimes, or give instruction or try to help in a different direction, leadership, as we were saying, leadership and culture that needs to be changed, the two things that frequently hurt a public works department, and you may have those two things, the need for leadership and a need to change some of your culture in that department. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much.
Did you want to elaborate a little bit on the email and the
Oh,
accountability?
yeah, let me touch back on that. We talked, we use buzzwords like accountability and all of that. I'm going to guess, in the kinds of public works departments I'm in, that your public works department probably sees about 20 requests for service per week. Maybe more or less, I'm not sure, but something like that. What I promise you, I absolutely promise you, that every week, every one of those requests for service, be they from residents, be they from the police station or other employees in the organization, be they from you all, whoever the request for service may be, they are going to get processed. They're going to be put in an email, every single one of them. They're going to be managed, chased, brought to a disposition, and every one of them is going to be handled. And if I could do that at Gloucester, where it was 50 to 60 requests for service a week, I could do it here for sure. And I just have to, and in the course of doing
25 I won't have to deal with it.
yeah, and in the course of doing that, you know that there's what, 20 or 25, whatever it may be.
At least.
And in the course of taking that kind of an approach to customer service and accountability, out of that flows making sure people are really doing what you want them to do, showing them how to use good judgment in different situations. So all of that, that flow of accountability can then take legs in other directions. That's the whole.
Well, 20 of them come from Parks and Recreation.
All right, well, maybe it's 40 instead of 20, especially in April, I bet they do. So, I understand.
Did you, well, I wanted to elaborate with everybody this evening first, is to understand what's started this process. This evening, we have a letter of resignation from our current Public Works Superintendent. If you recall, we had offered him the opportunity to just simply become the Assistant Superintendent with the idea that he would maintain that his license would be maintained here in the borough, that we were not financially hurting him. He would simply,
That's the position that he had prior.
except the only difference is, before he was an hourly employee, we're going to maintain him as a salaried employee. And obviously, he's the most important piece of this whole puzzle, that he continues to work with us to get things done, because he's the bridge from Tom to the guys, but I'm sure that Tom's going to evaluate that. Tom's been charged, if we give him this position, or his company this position also, that he's going to basically report to us. So the mechanism will be, everything will go through Tom, especially from the director, filtered through, information comes back, and everything from the bottom up comes through him. So hopefully, it'll run just like all our other departments. Our police department runs this way very, very efficiently. Our fire works this way, all the departments work this way. Public Works needs to work this way, where there's this back and forth, and there is a chain of command. So we will have a meeting, hopefully, we'll try to have this as quickly as possible, where all the members of Public Works are addressed. And remember, when we say Public Works, we're saying not only the roads department, but the sewer department. It's all the way down. We are going to more than likely move to a position where we create a non-competitive director of public works, which is basically an appointment position. It'll not be in civil service in the sense that it's a tested position or anything like that. We're going to create a position where we're actually putting someone in there who's going to do it very similar to what Gloucester Township did, but at obviously a much larger level. There's a position where this person is beholden to council. That they are, am I saying this all correctly? Make sure I'm saying it all. This
This is a working process, so it's
Yes.
in the right place.
So this is the idea, to have this person who is accountable to us, obviously under the direction of the director of that department, but of course, council is appointing and everything filters down. This meeting we're going to make it very clear that we are going to give Tom the ability to do whatever is necessary, whatever it is. Obviously understanding what our goals are, especially what Ben's trying to do for the past 2 years, and what the rest of us need from all our different departments. And his job would be to get that done.
How long will this last?
This would be up to a 6-month appointment. Basically, it is a contract with a management company. It's an as-need basis, as I understand it, in the sense
Is
that
there a
it's
set time that you think you're going to be here? Like, are there particular days, or you?
Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Perfect.
That's what I'm,
That's perfect.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but also on the days that he's not here, he will be available. He is email savvy and cell phone savvy.
cell phone,
Good.
cell phone,
Texting?
email. Huh?
Texting?
When
You bet.
when he becomes an employee, will we get his email so that we can?
Absolutely. So I was
We're
gonna-
setting up
He will have a
Good.
borough email, so it'll be T. Shannon at Runnemede.gov.
Excellent.
I do believe the directors will also have your cell phone number.
They have it on my,
Right, I have it.
on my resume, but I'd be happy to give it to you all. I'm gonna jot down right now.
We'll make sure everybody has it.
Yeah, make sure everybody has it.
Well, we intend to use email because that is always the best mechanism,
Yeah.
even better than text messaging,
Yeah.
because it makes us able to store it, to file it, to keep a track of when the request came in, when the complaint came in, and then follow-ups. You know,
Frankly,
it's something,
the hardest part of doing the whole accountability thing is surprisingly isn't the getting the guys to do the work and making it get done correctly and not veering off here. It's collecting up everything and getting it into into emails, so that once you get it, so if we have a conversation, I have to remember, it's gonna go in an email, because it was a conversation, or if we get something, in some non-email form, which is fine, it has to be reduced to an email. Once it gets into an email, then it can be managed, tracked.
so instead of, we talked about this, instead of spending,
When the residents call Public Works, and they leave a message on the phone.
that's one of the things we're gonna,
That's what
we,
changed.
How's that gonna work?
it's gonna change, because immediately, one of the things we're gonna probably do is eliminate phone calls going down to Public
Please
Works.
do.
We're going to push people towards email, and even the personnel at the front office. We've talked many times about training our personnel at the front office to be able to at least take those, like I said, turn them into an email, and email becomes our work.
Yeah, but
We talk about purchasing.
Excuse me, but calls are fine. Calls are fine. Probably better if they're not into Public Works, because most of the time, there's not someone there, or the person who is there isn't the right person. But if we can channel calls into the borough call, then we can translate, once we get a call, a request for service, someone in borough call can be worked out, that we can then turn it into an email. And then,
We talked about purchasing a program, but for a department of our size, it's not worth it for us to buy a work order program that we're able to track all these things. The large municipalities have it. So Tom's experience has been for these smaller municipalities, we use email becomes the work order. It becomes the tracking mechanism. Where in our businesses, right, we use, software, so the email will do it.
It's all about communication
Exactly.
systems, from the public to the public works, and that's where your expertise, that's why we need you, that's why you're coming here, and I will leave it up to you to put those systems in place.
Correct.
Personally, I know you know what you're doing.
But the phone calls will, and they already are generated to this building. They are generated to this building currently, but they are basically still a recording.
That's exactly.
I don't-
That's where-
but it was the first step.
The majority of.
It's gonna change it all.
but let me make sure,
I understand that.
let me make
But
sure
I've been
you
doing
understand.
this for 2 years, so please understand that. And understand that they still call that garage on a regular basis. And I get that email is great, but when you're talking with, no disrespect or ageism, but when you're talking about a 70-year-old person who for the past 10 years has called
40
that
years.
garage, it's gonna be a little tough for them to I got a phone call the other day. She says, I've left 7 messages on that machine at the garage, and they have never called me back once.
That's why we eliminated it. And I think,
She will be my first customer.
Exactly. Well, I already took
Okay.
care of
But
what she was
let
complaining
me-
about, but that's
you
not
raise a
how it should be.
point that I want to make explicit. Just because I'm talking about how we'll accomplish accountability through an email system has nothing to do with the way that we receive requests for service. It doesn't mean that people have to be email savvy. It doesn't mean they have to have it. Pick up the telephone and call. We'll figure out how to translate that call into something we can work with, which will then get us to where we want to go.
Right.
regardless if it's a conversation, is what I'm
Doesn't
saying.
matter.
Yeah.
Just call.
That's it.
And
It's
we'll-
just gotta be it's again, it's the accountability, it's the documentation of the phone call. The phone call doesn't just end up on a list that ends up who knows where.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
It's going to end up in an
It has to
email on
be
my
exact.
computer, and
That's
every
what-
week I'm going to be
exactly.
massaging every one of those emails and pressing on them and pressing on them, and we're going to
That's
get
it.
accomplishment that way.
That's
So the goal is to develop a system of the way Public Works works, with the intent that Tom is not here forever. His position will be here forever. So the position, he's gonna have a desk down there. That desk someday will be filled by whoever we appoint to that position to run that department. So all this that's coming together, the goal at the end of hopefully 6 months, could be less, could be more, it is what it is. We will have a new hire that's gonna sit in that desk, that's gonna follow the system that we are now developing. that they will just continue it. We will learn what it is, employees will learn what it is, and the analogy that I've been using is, it's the boat. You're either gonna get into the boat, or you're not gonna get in the boat. So, the employees, we're gonna make that very clear, and council, obviously, we gotta get in the boat too. We're all gonna be in this together. I think we've all cared about this community, that's why we're here. We've gotten frustrated. You know, the camel, we're up with the camel. The camel, its back broke, what, a year and a half ago, and it's been dead and rotting. This is the move that we have to make.
Can we get the camera out of the boat?
If you take the camel out of the boat, then the boat might not sink.
So the only thing we're gonna do this evening, it will be an action item, we have a few action items tonight, hopefully everyone, I'm gonna open it up to everyone, more questions. We're gonna vote on this tonight, we're gonna move on this with the intent that it's been waiting too long. I take a lot of responsibility, but
And he can start tomorrow.
I don't think it's necessarily tomorrow, but tomorrow is only a day away, so.
Monday for sure.
Monday for sure. That'll give us time to at least, but tomorrow might be the day that we'll have our meeting. We'll have to discuss this after, you know, we'll,
Tomorrow's the last day of the month, really, can we just do it on the first day of the month?
uh,
Just do it like, yeah, can we do it Friday?
the only reason I thought that it was important to allow the Public Works Department to digest this over the weekend. Because literally on Monday, it's Friday, will you
I can
have
come in on Friday.
Okay.
Friday, we're having the also Friday morning.
Because that would allow them to digest it over the weekend, and once again, we're gonna reiterate this, you're gonna be part of us, or you're not. And that's it. Okay, any more questions for Tom? Or Mr. Shannon, I don't know how we're gonna, Tom's okay. Any more questions? Okay, well, thank you, I hopefully it'll be fine.
Look forward to it.
We'll contact, but we'll,
Nice meeting you.
okay, thank you very much. Okay, so we're gonna go in order, and then we'll vote on what we need to vote on. Do you have that letter?
Yes, that's part of
Want to do that at the end?
the proposal that we received.
You want to do this now? Let's go through the order, and we'll do it. Okay, thank you.
See you.
Public hearings on the ordinance amendments, composition of police department, the land use, and purchasing of the property. This will be our final readings for the acquisition of the properties next door, the changing of the structure of the police department, which basically enumerates the amount of officers and their positions, and the land use, which is
The fees,
the fees that Joyce found out.
Planning and zoning.
Yeah, all those fees that our planning board plus the municipal clerk had shown us that were inaccurate, and we're getting them up to date. Public hearing on the 2015 budget. I'm going to turn it over just briefly to Mr. Wright, because there has been some discussion about changes to the budget, and I'm going to let him briefly elaborate on those changes.
Okay.
And the most important change.
Yes,
Of course.
Computer went to sleep here.
Want me to continue, or you?
All right. In a nutshell, the only thing that's a major change, or not a major change, but a recommended major change from the introduced budget that we would recommend after we have our public hearing, that the possibility for council to consider a budget amendment, is increasing the amount of surplus that we're going to use. And basically, we would increase the amount of surplus budgeted by $120,000.
What is it now?
It is,
Why don't you explain why?
right, well, that's a good question of what it is. Basically, the number that we have in there right now is 350.
So another 100 and...
Another 120. And basically, the reason for that change is we budgeted $300,000 for delinquent taxes last year. The numbers have been confirmed by the auditors now, so I'm comfortable with those numbers. And we received approximately $462,000. So that was basically due to the tax sales the delinquent taxpayers paying and our conservative approach in the budget itself. So there's an extra amount of surplus that's available this year that may not occur again next year, but it's in there this year, and because it's a result of delinquent taxes and taxes, it makes sense to utilize that to reduce the tax impact. I believe at the previous meeting, we said that the impact to the homeowner on the residential, because we can't impact the county and the schools, was going to be a $28 increase. And basically, with the additional $120,000 of surplus, that would take that to a $7.19 decrease. So you would actually have a decrease in the local tax rate. It's about 0.5%, but it's directly related to the delinquent taxes The amount of surplus that we've basically gone from year to year that we've regenerated back through the budget has been in the mid to upper sixes. This year, that number is going to be, the number is 938,000. So then with non-spending surplus, it takes it to $1 million. So basically, we're still keeping our conservative position,
I'm loving
but
This
it
is great.
gives the benefit back to the taxpayer.
And the idea is that the reason it's conservative, the amount of money, even though we increased our surplus by over $300,000, we're not taking all that money, we're only taking a percentage of it, because it could be a bad year next year or the following year. And then the simple fact is it is uncollected taxes. We hope that in the coming years, it's a trend now, that our collection rate will increase. If everyone remembers, our collection rate was down a few percentage.
it. We
Okay.
had some.
It was a tough year. It was a
With
tough-
the holiday.
We had some major taxpayers that didn't pay, hundreds of thousands of dollars. But I will say that we did well already this year with the shopping center has paid. The Acme has paid
That was 200, and what did I say?
almost $300,000.
Right.
And then the hotels, even though there were some issues with the hotels are doing much better. La Quinta, when I first got on council, we used to collect close to $90,000 a year in hotel tax. That had dropped to about $30,000 when the place had gone to the Holiday Inn. And then, of course, being closed all this time meant even less revenue coming to the town. So just to let you know, the place was sold out the other night. So
That's wonderful.
yeah, it has had some sellouts, going by and things like that. It's so better. So that should really help our bottom line. And the idea is we have been so conservative over these years, and I will give a lot of credit to even all the previous budgets, going back, I would say all back to 2008. These budgets have all been very conservative, and we're reaping a little bit of the reward, and I don't think that it's a big deal. This is the year to do it. The money came in, there's no reason to sit on it. It was uncollected taxes. Give it back, save a little bit, and move on.
Here's my problem with this. I have people that talk to me all the time about our taxes. They're so high, and they go up every year. And when I explain to them that they have to look at their tax bill and see just how much actually comes to the municipality, that we're not responsible for what the county charges, and as long as the Board of Education stays under 2%, we can't tackle that problem. And so the major part, and this, I just don't know why our residents don't understand
They
it.
don't care. Because we send the bill, we collect
I
it.
know,
And they have
but
every right to expect us to do the best. Now, all we can do is we have our 25% of the budget, which we've reduced. The question is,
How do we
Do we
convey
have-
this? How do we convey this to the residents?
we will do it in our newsletter.
I hope so.
We will tell
I hope
them.
so. I hope they all understand.
And the Board of Educations of both the regional and local will know that we are trying very hard to keep our portion down. Now, as you understand, educational funding, that's a big problem. If you go to the Board of Education, they will tell you that they're not getting the money that they used to get, just like we're not.
I know.
We have $700,000 less
This year
from the
it's
state.
going up, what, $48?
Right. We've been on a rate.
On 147,000?
Yeah.
And our rate was even went down. But Eleanor, it's a tough question. People want us to fix the tax problem. It's not going to be fixed at a local level. It's only going to be fixed at a state level. Just like COA has to be fixed at a state level, the tax funding formulas, that has to be fixed at a state level.
When I explain it, then their eyes open and they go, ah.
Well, you've only got about 8,200 more people to go talk to, and you'll get through it.
I'm campaigning this year. Any little bit of.
Well, then you can easily say that we're
Yes.
trying our best, and we're
Yes.
doing it very fiscally responsible. We did not do anything other than the extra money we collected,
Good.
we're just giving it back.
Awesome.
Okay? So that'll be up for public hearings at the
It's
5th.
great for you, huh?
Is that our next?
The budget.
It is, it's like a year, I can say.
Good job, good job.
I'm always campaigning.
That's right, you're always campaigning. But the budget, so I think that's positive. Is there any other comments about this? Is there any concerns? Obviously, everything's still being funded at the levels that were there. If anything, we've even increased funding in the departments, and obviously, recreation has seen increased funding. We've increased funding in public works, police, fire and safety. I mean, we've not gone, right? There's nothing we've not done. I don't think we've ever said we couldn't do something because of financing. So I think we've done everything we wanted to do, and we're still lowering taxes. And I think that's good.
That's wonderful.
Okay? Do you have anything else on the elaborate on it? Someone's also collected the money, but you didn't want to close everybody over on collecting.
Well, the reasons that part of the reason we were able to generate it is because the state
the Green Acres loan is now refunded back to us. We also have the debt service payment, so on the appropriation side, we're now paying back $25,000 a year for the next 20 years. But
Like all these things that we borrow, we say we're getting bond money, we're fronting that money until we actually get the check. So think about the work that was done on the Black Horse Pike back in 2006. We just got paid the balance of that amount of money. We
not
just,
like you're trying, right, Mark?
yeah, right, Mark, thank you.
Since the day I got here.
Yeah, right, that's one of them, my favorite name, Phil Collins,
Yes.
from Genesis, he finally got the money, $500,000. We had fronted all that money to do the walking path. Yeah, most of that money, and finally getting that money back. So now the only problem is on the debt side, we're now making these payments. But that's not terrible either. It's already figured in our budget, and we're not killing ourselves with increased debt payments. Our debt is still pretty level all these years. On an average.
And that's why we can borrow and bond as much as well as we can, because our debt service
We
is so
basically, the last 3 years, done interest only with the short-term market,
Right.
so that we didn't have to pay the principal, so we could dovetail, because the interest rates are so low, that it'll
Absolutely.
dovetail. I think we have 2 payments left on our prior year's debt service, and then actually, one of the things I have, if you don't mind my digressing, we received today 3 proposals for financial advisor.
We're gonna
I
work on
haven't
it.
even opened them, other than one of them to see what the hourly rate.
And that's for us to sell our bonds.
So we have a financial advisor, they will tell us what the future will look like on the scenarios that we're presenting, and we also have our auditor and bond counsel, they're the 3 folks that go with you.
Well, that's Parker.
Go do the Doug and Tony show, so Mike, et cetera.
And we are working on a monitor,
Yes.
so we'll have a screen, so we'll be able to see things. We're in a digital world, we'll be able to put the information out there, we'll be able to read it clearly. I think it was going on this wall somewhere,
On this wall, I went
so
to
the
some-
public can see it and also that we can see.
I went to a seminar last week, and I came back to this box to see if they could make a change. It's gonna have a pole, you've probably seen it in other classrooms, that comes down and it's gonna be mounted. I wanna know if they can change that so it can turn. So
Oh.
basically, for the price of a screen, if you're having a training, you don't have to rearrange the whole classroom. You have a screen that, you get on a ladder and you rotate it, and it can do the front monitor, or if you're doing presentations, it go to the side monitor. So instead
That
of
might be
having
a smart
having
move,
2 monitors,
rather than.
We do have trainings here.
Configure, reconfigure
Yep.
it.
I can have one on Friday.
Screen can't be.
Oh, is that the metal training?
Yeah. Well, just seeing the numbers, I think it's easier when they're big.
Should be great.
Yeah, easier. Is there anything else on the budget? Any other questions? No? Okay,
It's
easy.
all good.
Bond orders for slip line pipes, EIT loan reintroduction. The bond council, I think, is requiring us to reintroduce, is that accurate?
It was my request, but basically, we walked that one into the urgency of trying to get bills paid and things of that nature, and it's just too much time to go by. So we need to reintroduce it, advertise it.
This is for the sewer lines, this is.
Yeah, we're already moving forward with it, the application is in, all the preliminary planning work is all done at this point. I don't think there's any doubt that we will get it. It was just a matter of putting all the ducks in a row, and this is a final filling in the blanks we have to do.
And you know the sewer lines are gonna be done, right?
There's a map, and I would like it if you could leave it, we could put it upstairs so that people could see how much.
I'd like to see where that's.
It's tremendous, the amount of location it does, it touches all parts of the municipality.
Well,
It really does.
it's necessary. Look what happened,
Yeah, it's just like, that really hurts.
wow, that hurts.
What's the lifetime, what's the life expectancy of this? 40 years or so?
Oh, we're gonna be on.
Okay.
I might still be here.
You might be here, you might be.
Well, I'll be. You don't get something about anybody else. I might be here.
So we'll do that, is that okay? You don't need it this evening, right? It still doesn't make much of a difference at this point, few days. Okay. Discussion of resolution for award of contracts, the county co-op for solid waste disposal fees. As you know, we are with the county, most of the municipalities dumping our solid waste, our trash waste to the county incinerator.
Don't we do that every year?
We do, and we do have options. As you know, Public Works on a couple of occasions has come to us and asked us to allow us to take certain items other places. We do, we have to deal with Salem, to take yard waste, we do go other places. But this allows us, actually, this is the bulk, goes to the county. The
This is
rate,
trash.
the trash. The rate's not great, but it works with the current contract we have
It's
for
gonna
our
be
trash.
when it's close by.
Yeah, otherwise it would be a 45-minute drive there and back, and we would save the money, but our contract with our trash hauler would change. So this is the only way we can.
So it'd be about $15,000 increase in tipping fees.
So we're gonna-
It's in the budget.
But we're gonna offset it by getting people to recycle more.
Correct.
And I think we're gonna see it, it's weekly recycling, it's gonna make it,
I
it's gonna
think so, I think
continue.
it's gonna make a big difference.
Okay, so is there any questions on that? I mean, it's really, we're part of a co-op.
Pretty,
A discussion appointment of Nick Trayvish as judge and the new part-time EMT.
good.
Obviously, our judge's appointment has expired, you all met him, is there any questions that you guys have?
It's fabulous.
You know,
Everybody loves him, I've heard only good reports from other towns and from people that have experienced him here.
nobody has to go in front of
As a
him.
jurist, he's wonderful.
You get to go in front of him? You do the morning session, is that yours, you're prosecuting? That's great. And, he's good to go all the time. The new part-time EMT, do you have his name? Ms. Hammond?
Last name's Asher.
Asher. Obviously, he's gone through the training that our, Mr. Laverty, our deputy fire chief, typically with a part-time EMT, the recommendation, I don't know if you had an opportunity to meet him or anything like that, it's up to you. I don't think it's a part-time
No, we
position.
haven't.
I don't think it's.
Robert Asher. Robert Asher.
As you know, we're always losing people, and
Sorry.
this is a way
They
to just
call
keep
him
the hours.
Is it Ash? Asher.
Make sure we
No,
have-
Ash, she said Ash, yeah.
And it's also to control the hours. As you know, we've got a 6-month part-time appointment. I hear that's working well, and it'll be, I think, hopefully justified by the numbers after we look at them in the next few months. The coverage between 4 to 6 is now being covered. And there has been on occasion that 2 ambulances can go out at the same time. So there's an opportunity for us to continue to provide the service and actually gain revenue. It's one of the few departments that every time that ambulance goes out, we have the potential of bringing in, $0 to $800.
Does anybody know if it's going out between 4 to 6 yet?
I know for a fact. it has been
Is it?
between 4 to 6, yeah.
We get a lot of calls.
Yeah, they do, they do get a lot of
So
calls.
it's already,
One of
already out.
the problems why we really had to look at this very closely, Bumhall was complaining.
Yeah.
Well, and then you have other municipalities, and then,
When are you gonna get on board with this? Because we're sick and tired of.
yeah, so, but they work together. They do work together.
They do, but there was some complaints, so
So that'll
we
be.
had to make a move.
Yeah. Got it.
Discussion of authorizing firefighters to submit application for New Jersey State Firemen's Association. We allow them, I think it's part of their contract, we allow them to be part of the Firemen's Association. I don't think this is a big deal. Am I saying that correct? That's right. Joyce? Letter from the DOT grounding funding from South Oakland. I think everyone received a copy of that.
Oh, the 210,000?
We, $201,000. So I believe we authorized the drawings on that already. Nope, I think we should put that on the agenda
Somewhere
for next council meeting to authorize the drawings. Is that okay?
here. Yeah, some options to consider.
Oh,
What are the options?
Is it?
yeah, I think he emailed that to me.
Do you want to do that at you want to talk about that at the end? Why don't you do it now while we're on?
Okay. In my report, the attachment to Exhibit A is a proposal to the engineering. We originally estimated to do the entire road from Thumbs Bridge to Evesham is going to be close to $500,000. So you've got roughly 40% of that in grant. So if all you want to do is spend the grant money for construction, and it also covers inspections, you could allocate $178,000 of that to construction and $23,000 for the inspection services. The design engineering is not covered by the grant, so that has to come out of borough funds. So just to do a reduced scope, the borough will be putting out $25,000, which would do plans and specs. And the very last page is a little map that shows what we do is the base bid would go from Borough Avenue to South Oakland, and then we would have an alternate bid that would go halfway from Phillips to West Crumbs Bridge. That would probably be the limit of what we could construct with the $178,000. We would still put a bid out to go all the way out to Crumbs Bridge Road, just in case we get good bids. But that's the base.
So the design will be the entire road from Evesham to.
He said 500,000.
461.
We would design that part.
461, 500,000 goes from where to where?
From
Change.
Evesham to
A
Cumberland.
lot of change.
Okay.
We should do it.
My recommendation would be to do the design part of it, because what we haven't done is our 2015 road program. And I think we've all made the commitment that it's great to finish things.
Absolutely.
So I'm not gonna talk further, I mean, Bob and I have discussed this.
Still digging, dangling somewhere.
Well, Singley's moving forward with the design phase, and the money's set up for that. Irish Hill Road, the money was already there from previous year. The problem with starting road and not finishing it, I think we run into problems if we don't do it. And this obviously is a major thoroughfare, and one thing we did learn is that sometimes we can ask for the money from the next year to compensate us for this year. As we all know, things take time. So my recommendation would be to do at least the design part all the way out there, allow the bid process to do it, and then when we all sit down to discuss our 2015 bond, how much money is going to public works, public safety, recs, and engineering, then we can, Mr. Wright will give us a little more clarity of how much money is actually there to do any kind of additional road work.
I agree.
But, you know,
Can I ask you a question?
yes,
Are we, as we're doing these roads in the future, are we doing anything about that pipe while we're ripping up these roads?
this one was one that was a problem, but I think it's addressed in this slip lining, isn't it?
This road has slip lining done to it.
So it wouldn't matter if we do anything or not? Would it be cheaper to, instead of slip lining, redo this pipe?
You do not want to do an open cut on that road.
There's too many issues. Too many issues.
And the ad alternatives always seem to work out pretty well. The tricky that we always stop if we run out of money.
Did you see this already?
It's not it.
I did see, no, I mean,
That was
I
another
didn't,
one.
but I've been in contact with them.
What?
As far as what?
Oh,
about this?
Yeah.
No, he just,
Mark, when did you come up with this drawing?
When did I do it? It was a map to that.
Today?
today.
So look,
He's like that kid in ninth grade that, you know, the project.
Gets it all
was due
together,
the day
gets it
before.
all together.
I should have done it when I was in Fort Lauderdale last week.
Yes, you
should.
Exactly, you're so tan.
You should have,
So,
you absolutely should
So
have.
here's, just explain this to me.
That
So-
was if all you want to do is spend the grant,
Okay.
you could have probably done the base bid and ultimate bid number one. That's all you can construct. But I have a proposal where
We
you.
got it.
We can
That's
we
streets.
can plan for the whole thing, break it up.
Well, he's the director. My theory is the director.
Well, we haven't even talked about our
We're gonna
2000.
fix the whole
Something
street.
that we
I
have
don't
to
think
do
we
this
can just
week.
do
Phase
this.
this section of this road?
This might be
Left,
Sunday.
right, middle?
Yeah.
That's
When
what
you give you three options.
not left, right.
No, we've set.
You get to that one area, it's gonna be like Washington Avenue, you don't know what's gonna be
Right,
underneath.
absolutely, I knew that.
So that road is way too country road.
Right.
To know
So I'm gonna say that we can't stop if we run out of life.
That's what we're doing. You disagree with that?
No, look on the floor, it's everything, there's connection.
Somebody standing on it?
John, it's you.
I didn't even notice. I just said.
You mean that big sound? Okay, why don't we at least, was everyone agree to at least allow for the design phase of it? And then we'll advertise based on the bids with the alternates, because bid one and bid two don't.
What do you think, Director?
No, I think it's a great idea, because like I said, when we looked at it, you don't know what's gonna be there, so,
You were there last week, weren't you?
it's 2 weeks ago, yeah.
It could be really big.
I know.
Okay.
It's-
Okay, so could we put that on then, Joyce, to approve the design phase? I mean, typically, that's how we've been authorizing road work.
Tuesday?
Tuesday.
We're on here. Design phase approved.
Design.
Okay, letter to DOT grant funding, we've gone over that. Proclamation, Mental Health Month.
That's good.
We're doing two parts of that, aren't we? Are we doing the Tourette's also, or no?
Yes, in June.
That's in June, I apologize.
That's a different proclamation.
Okay, so we're doing a proclamation on that. Discussion of resolution to maintain landscape and air purification system at
Do
20.
something with that.
We have a draft resolution that that everyone will need to approve that at the council meeting, and then simultaneously, we receive a contract, do you have that with you?
Which one?
That's a shared services.
The shared service agreement,
Yeah, I think that kind of changes the resolution though.
it might change the resolution.
Yeah, we just have to adopt the shared services agreement.
So the county, knowing that we were going to pass a resolution, sent us a shared service agreement outlining exactly what we would do at the
Well,
point.
that's it, but according to the engineer, there was a little bit of issue that they weren't quite sure what the county had no template. Remember I sent you that email, and it was like.
Yeah, but they actually sent the shared
All right,
services,
that's
so.
fine. So they reached out to whoever.
Len didn't know that we had
Something
this.
from the county?
that we had a shared services. So now Len did this elaborate resolution, and now all we need to do is adopt
No,
it.
no, well, that's fine, but when I originally got the letter, that's what I had forwarded to you, and the guy from the engineering firm said to me, I don't think that we have a template, we don't have anything, so see what you can do on your end, and that's why I
So
forwarded it.
we'll pass the resolution, which will authorize the approval of the
I have a
contract.
question. I personally feel like if, regardless of what Tom's gonna do, I think we need to have some type of implementation that we are gonna hire somebody to maintain this point. We cannot rely on Public Works to flush these sprinkler systems. We can, regardless.
I think,
it's something.
Parks and Recreation has,
Well, we could throw,
put that part of the contract?
if it's, yeah, we could do the, everything we do with the fuels and.
That's fine, but I'm talking about just the maintenance of it. If there's mulching that needs to be done, if there's just the groundkeeping, because this, my concern is this, you know as well.
He's
as I
hired
do,
people to do it.
You know how.
Oh, we're not doing mulch and all.
No, but
I think you'd be
that's
tired.
a minimal, maintenance, that isn't something that has to be done every single year, but my concern is I don't wanna leave it in the hands of Public Works, and no,
I mean, you can cut the grass, they can't even cut the grass.
have you seen them cut the grass at the library? They blow it right into the flower bed. I really don't wanna have the county
Well,
invest
I really
this
think that's
money.
gotta change, man.
Well, of course it does, and
It's
we're
the
all
easiest
in
thing to do.
agreement with that.
I'm teaching my 15-year-old how
That's
to cut
fine.
grass.
And you can take the time to teach them, because I've been trying to teach them for 2
Well,
years.
that's what
not to
Tom,
do it.
that's what Tom's hired.
And who are next hired? But I do think that the contract with the sprinkler should take care of
Yeah, I
that.
do
aspect.
sprinklers and the seeding and the
We
fertilizer.
could hire a landscaper to come and do plantings that
It's
year.
not a huge thing, but I'm not talking about maintenance of every single step along the way during the summer. I'm talking about end of season maintenance, of trimming of any kind of bushes, there's too much of an investment going into this for us to let this just kind of fall to the wayside and not maintain.
Well, I think we're gonna sign an agreement saying that we are taking responsibility.
Yes.
So I agree
The
that,
county.
with the county, once the work is done or as the work is processing, we'll be able to determine, hey, we'll sign a contract with the sprinkler guy, and I agree with you. We gotta figure out who's gonna maintain this. If it's gonna be an outside contractor, it becomes a line item budget that we have to hire somebody to do it if we don't feel that they can't do it. But I hope, I'm actually hoping that
The county too, I mean, the.
Public Works can do
I
more.
remember where.
Yeah, NJDOT is definitely the one that wants this.
I don't think,
Yeah.
I don't think we have a problem complying. I think we just have to make sure that there's an ability to do it.
Oh, you had
I
it.
have it.
Okay, well, here's what, this is from the county. Well, the resolution is basically, this is with the DOT, this is with the state of New Jersey. The Borough shall assume responsibility for maintaining the landscaping sprinkler system, only that will be installed as part of the New Jersey DOT application. So this is going to the state.
When is the work?
There's 2 copies.
When's it gonna be done?
I'm only thinking this one.
We've been waiting on no, they've only got the markouts out there, they've been out there forever. I was waiting on NJDOT, they were holding this whole thing up.
And then this basically indemnifies.
That's it.
This is us
They went back to Environmental Solutions and said to them, you need to get the town to say that they'll take care of this before we'll go any further.
Yeah, so that's what this resolution
And
does.
that's what we were waiting on all this time. We've been waiting for, well over 2 months to try to get the NJDOT to take, now it'll go out to bid. Once we get this in place, it'll go out to bid and they'll get it from there. Because they had the bid before, and then that's when NJDOT pulled the plug and said, no, you can't have the piece of property.
Yeah, let me just read it quickly to everyone. The county has determined that it can provide construction and maintenance of the island at Route 41 in East Sham Road, Borough of Runnemede, New Jersey. The county of Canada will be responsible for payment for the construction of the island. The Borough of Runnemede will assume full maintenance responsibilities, and the borough shall indemnify and hold the county and its agents, employees harmless for any liability which shall attach or arise either during or at any time subsequent to the completion of the project. And whereas there is a need to authorize to enter into a shared service agreement, the Borough of Runnemede for the purpose of authorizing pursuant to New Jersey blah, blah, blah. Uniform shared service, the 2 local units enter a contract for any service which is any part of the agreement empowered to render into jurisdiction, we have the right to do it. And the county and borough agree that the mutual public purpose and the best interest will promote by the execution and delivery of this shared service. So basically, they're paying for it, we're holding them harmless, we're holding the state harmless, and we're agreeing for it, and I think that's what Councilwoman's more concern is after they leave, it's on us.
It's on us. And there will be, any kind of water issue, electrical issue comes back to the borough. So electrical for lighting comes back to us, any type of, and I think that's something that has to occur with the county more so. This was about NJDOT. This was about them. Because they're supposed to also replace part of the sidewalk down
This
there.
one will probably go back to Len for final review, and we'll put this
Send
on.
it to them.
You sent it to Len?
I already sent it to them.
So as long as the council agrees on the resolution and the contract, I'll sign it, and we'll, like I said, it'll
Let's
go
get it
out.
back to environmental solutions so they can move forward with what they have to.
Okay. Discussion of right-of-way agreement with FiberTech. Do you have any recommendation from Len on this? We've kind of kicked the can on this because we don't understand this one. Basically, FiberTech is a company that wants the borough to give grant them an easement, and we have to do whatever they want to do on all these telephone poles and things like that.
So is that, Mark is looking into that?
Is that
Mark.
Verizon?
No.
Wait, it's not. Wait,
I don't know anything about it. It was just for me an email from Len's office. They're looking to put wires on, but we can't tell if it's from Verizon or who it is. It's like a third party. And we just want to know a little bit more.
So until we have legal counsel and the engineer saying that it's okay to
Need
do,
some information.
yeah, typically, there is a state law out there that says that all you public utilities have the right to use all these easements, all these telephone poles.
Sorry, do you have the letter?
The cover letter that was with this,
Yes,
so I know where to send it.
thank you.
So there is some law out there, statute that says this, but we don't know who these are. If they're a public utility, we don't have anything. So we're going to table that. So Joyce, we're not going to do anything with that. Pothole agreement with Gloucester Township. Basically, this is,
Oh, we're gonna use.
there is an agreement now, right? We have,
Well, both sides of this passed a resolution, but we never had an actual
I thought they sent us that.
agreement. Now we have the agreement, but and I sent it to Len.
We have an
I
agreement.
sent it. Do you want to just,
yeah, my personal opinion is it's like anything else. It's an agreement allowing us to utilize their services if we want to. So
Right.
if we do, we have it, they outlined the rate, which we didn't have, if you recall, the first time we used it. It's a little more specific. If we want to use it, we can. If we don't want to use it, we don't have to. But I think it's another tool in the toolbox. It doesn't cost us anything to agree with another town. It shows us a shared service. We've already utilized it once.
We're using it or we're not using it? or
We have
what
the
are we
ability
doing?
to use it.
We have the ability to use it, so we do have potholes, so who's fixing the
They
potholes?
have fixed quite a few of them the other day.
If we want to,
For that
we can
lady
use
out
it.
on East
So
Shore.
all this agreement does, it allows us, if we decide,
We have options.
if Public Works says, you know what, we have a list of 50 potholes, like I said, spring's here, or summer, it gets bad, we can utilize it.
you know, what the rates are, let me read the rates.
Why are you doing
Yeah, read the
this?
rates, Greg.
It's $42, $42 per hour for the vehicle,
I do that.
$45.02 per hour for the driver, and $4.75 per gallon and $26 per ton for the material. And then there's a 15% registration fee
That's not me.
on the total bill.
Okay, we utilized them one time before, was it right after a heavy rainstorm, what was the cost of the, was it about $800? No, it was a little high, but once again, it's about, getting it done, I think it was okay. I think we could have done it better when we picked a bad day.
The problem there is that the time that the person's there, if you're not filling without colors, then
Yeah, to bring this machine in, you gotta be filming.
you have to be ready to go and have a person who's on it to take them here. because
Get it done.
To get them to work.
Yeah, so, does it say that we have to provide them with a ride along?
Hmm?
I think it was.
What?
Public Works.
How to ride along?
Yeah.
I don't think that's a big
It
deal.
can only be on Fridays.
Yes.
Right, because they're all on Fridays.
It makes sense to do a ride along because it saves us money. We get done faster, going to town better.
Somebody has to.
Tell them where to go.
Yeah, but there's a mechanical department, or they have to do something, I don't know exactly.
The guy gets out and does something.
Blows out the whole.
Okay. I mean, I don't know if everybody's already okay with we'll put it on there.
For sure.
It's only, like I said, we want to use it,
With potholes in this town.
Definitely.
so if you can put that on.
It's already approved. You
It is sort of
both
approved.
it. You need
Oh, I have to
sign
sign
it.
it.
We never saw the agreement, that's why I sent it.
Okay, is everyone okay? Do I need a resolution from them to authorize me to sign it since we already passed it? Well, then I'll sign the agreement.
Good,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Soon as that.
Discussion of Public Works matters. This would actually be an action item tonight, because if we intend to start on the 1st, and if we intend to have a meeting on Friday, I think council has to vote tonight to basically accept the resignation of our current superintendent, and then appoint Jersey Professional Management as and Tom Shannon as the interim Public Works Superintendent. And then authorize the execution of the contract, which basically outlines how we pay Tom and how we pay Jersey Central. Here, did you already have a copy? You didn't get this, just got signed 5 minutes ago.
It's a memo of understanding.
It got signed at 4:20.
This was from the 16th. I also have from today, because I stated yesterday, the agreement for Jersey Professional.
Well, let's read this first, and then we'll move on.
Well, you'd have to do that when we do this.
Yes.
Okay. What resolution is this?
Joyce, do you have a resolution on it?
1572 would be, because we already have a 71, which is the temporary appropriation.
It'll be 1572.
Raise the action.
Where's the memorandum of motion?
Does anybody have any questions
Does
on
it
that?
say in there anywhere that he's a salary employee,
Um,
not an hourly employee?
It doesn't state, what I say.
Salary for.
I mean, we've made that clear where we promoted him. Now,
It says salary.
it does say
It
salary,
does say
but let's
salary.
clarify the bottom line here. So he
It does say
he
salary.
maintains his current salary,
It's a, changes current, right.
and then when we hire somebody new, he will lower, or we're gonna give him a stipend, because if you recall, we're obligated to have 2
2
people.
years, yes.
So, and we're gonna do a very good job, never allowing one person has to always be available with these licenses to protect the borough. So we'll have 2 people, Mr. Ritz and whoever this other gentleman or lady will be, who will have a license, and then, you know, one takes a vacation, the other will be here.
Now, what about the sewer business? We only have John.
You know, the Russians, the Germans
Oh,
lost
here
World
he
War II.
goes again.
We're not,
Here's the history.
we're attacking one thing at a time. That is not an issue yet. If it becomes an issue,
Licenses is not an issue.
it isn't, you know, Mr. Gunn is still here. And we had a shared service agreement with Belmar. I don't know if that expired as of December. We just renewed it, so we have a backup on our license at sewer. But until we lose somebody, then we'll go after that.
Okay.
And we haven't gotten anything.
As long as we have backup and it's still effective.
We will find, you know what, that's the first thing I'm gonna write down. I've written anything down there, the backup for the sewer license.
That was only to clean our sewers out. That was not.
Yeah, there was an agreement. I don't know if I had a sunset.
I'll have to go back and look at what we passed last year, but I don't.
I don't think it'll,
I think it ended, yes.
it won't be a big
Let
deal.
that lapse. Do you hear?
You can kick me later. I forgot it. I did forget about it. I understand. Does anybody have any questions on this? Mr. Root, Mr. Farrell, are you good with this? So, okay, resolution 1572 would be a resolution to accept the memorandum of understanding between Nicholas J. Ritz and the Borough of Runnemede pertaining to the voluntary return to the permanent title of Assistant Superintendent of Public Works. Is there a motion, please?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Second it. Any discussion?
Yes.
Yes.
So just so I know clear, he's getting 60,000 now. He steps down, still gets 60,000.
Because we don't have a permanent replacement.
With no headaches, he got a raise, he doesn't.
He didn't get a raise.
Well,
Just didn't lose
He
it.
didn't lose anything.
Right, but
and
his
he's-
salaries won't be entitled to overtime out. So, I mean, it's not 100% apples to apples, but
Just to remind everybody, his previous salary was $50,000 a year, but he was entitled to overtime. So this current year that he was the superintendent, he did not receive overtime for any of the snowstorms or any of the stuff that he came out. This, as Ms. Moore, he stays as a salary employee.
Salary, but does, I think it should say somewhere in there.
We will make sure that it's very clear, that he
Yeah, I
understands that
agree.
it's a
I
salary.
agree.
My point, it's fine that it's.
Do you think it's any
It's
misunderstanding that it's a salary?
It's fine that it says,
No, I don't
it
mind
says
that.
that,
No,
it's fine.
I think it should, I would like it to be
Say
clarified.
that.
You know that that's a gray
It doesn't hurt
area.
to add it, but it looks clear that it's salary, but if you want to add in just, he's not.
I think-
Well, then let's make an amendment. So,
Yeah.
Ms. Moore, you amended to say that as a salaried employee, what would be the language?
As a salaried employee, he's not entitled to receive overtime.
Okay, you can add that on.
That way if it,
Just put parentheses at the end, no.
Don't forget the eyes.
Or you can just put regular hours, approved only, instead of accenting the
Can work
negative.
overtime. You
Actually,
can work
we don't talk
overtime,
about
doesn't
hours.
get
As public works superintendent, even assistant, he's here. If we have a problem, we can't, just like a chief of police, he has to come in, he has to, just like an administrator. They come in, there's no set hours, there's no
So then it
set.
would be salaried employee, overtime does not apply.
right.
Very simple.
Yeah.
Doesn't Pat get overtime?
Is it, he does get overtime, he's a non-contractual employee, he gets overtime.
Who says, who you talking about?
Pat.
Come on, guys,
We can't say,
we'll deal with that later.
we're not allowed to say that anyway.
We're not close, but we still should be talking.
Yeah, yeah. So where are we at with this? So getting back to your point, just to talk about this agreement, it is important that we have a good transition. Mr. Ritz, to his credit, he wants to work with us. He wants to stay here, he wants to be an employee of the borough until he retires. I feel that if, he has the ability to do the job, it just, his management skills are a little, not as strong as we want him to be. So this allows him to at least,
But
he's
that
been
doesn't
here.
negate that he is a good worker, and he
I
does
didn't-
have a
yeah.
lot of connections, and he does help us in
Yeah.
certain aspects with the connections.
We need him to work with
Negate
us.
him
And he's a
completely.
good guy.
Yes, we want him to work with us. So I don't, even though I see your point, but this actually, he stepped up to the plate and he's here working with us. He signed this evening, so he wants to work with us on this. Did you believe that? Is that correct? Okay. Okay, so as amended then, there's a motion with an amendment.
Now, I'll make a motion on the amendment.
Okay, to approve as amended. We have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Ms. Kelly, second by Mr. Ranieri. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call.
Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
Mrs. Kelly?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Passio?
Yes.
Mr. Ranieri?
Yes.
And Mr. Root?
Yes.
6 ayes.
Okay. Resolution is adopted.
Now how do we appoint this?
Now we're going to do the next one. So now the next part will be the appointment, Resolution 1573, will be a resolution appointing Jersey Central Management with Tom Shannon as their representative to be our temporary acting superintendent of public works.
Yeah, this was-
Okay, got it?
For a period after exceeds 6 months, right?
I think it was.
It's a little more open-ended.
Well, no, this is, actually, we have the ability to go back, but the resolution and the agreement, do have time.
You have more copies?
Yeah, I do have time for it.
You want to hand out copies?
Correct, yes.
Hand out copies.
They're saying the original assessment is approximately 3 months. Either party may cancel the service within 1 week's notice. So it's open-ended.
3 months, but it's open-ended, and either party can cancel with 1 week's notice. Does everybody have a copy?
Also have the resolution.
I thought we were going for 6.
I have another one here, yeah, I
All
started.
right, we can revisit it.
We have to reappoint
I
it.
originally thought they said it was per diem, basically daily, that we could give a week's notice, and we're developing this right now. I mean, there is no set way to do this. There's other things that the firm also does. They can do the recruiting, if we so choose to have them do the recruiting. I think before we get to the recruiting, I think we need to have, Tom is going to assess our capital needs, he's going to assess operationally, he's going to say, this is what I recommend to you to do it. So we're not saying that we're going to put an ordinance on tonight to change the structure, because he's going to open up the
Oh, this is
structure
the
of what we need.
appointment of the firm.
Ultimately, I see a position, the civil service title, that would be a director of public works that has both the sewer and the roads reporting as assistant.
And that would take 2 months to create that, just for.
Well, I think I would like the 1 week out as well. What if this doesn't work for us? We're cutting it off in 1 week, and so it's just fair that they get the 1 week out too,
Right. Now, the agreement, they gave us a template for a resolution, this is from them. because
Oh,
they've
this
done before.
resolution is from them?
So this is what we will be approving.
I'm sorry.
It asked for an upper.
And this is 1573?
Uh-huh, 1573. Do you want me to go over anything? Does everybody understand what we're doing? Let me go over the lines quickly with everyone. So it's an appointment of Senior Vice President Thomas Shannon will serve in the capacity of temporary acting superintendent of public works and management consultant, whose responsibilities will include the normal day-to-day operation of the borough organization. Our associate will report directly to the borough administrator on a regular borough monthly formal basis. The associate will provide you with a weekly report. On at least a bi-weekly basis, you'll receive a written report including activities, accomplishments, hours worked, and an invoice voucher for payment. Our associate will work between 20 and 25 hours a week, working 3 days per week according to a mutual agreed upon schedule. We estimate the service to last approximately 3 months. Either party may cancel the service with 1 week's notice. Our fee for these service will be one-time placement fee of $2,000 and $1,500 per hour for actual time worked.
Is that a finder's fee?
Yeah,
105. 105 per hour for actual time worked by the temporary acting superintendent and management consultant. $10 on payroll and $95 voucher. The hourly rate is split in order to differentiate between the portion of the hours spent handling official work and the portion of the hours spent performing management and consulting work. This is the SOP, Standard Operating Procedure, which has been used by many municipalities. The following information will be on your file. Tom Shannon, Princeton, New Jersey. The Borough of Runnemede should decide to hire Jersey Professional Management Association as a regular appointment employee. The placement fee will be $10,500. Jersey Professional Management ensures its associates except it does not provide a surety bond or municipal defense of professional liability coverage. That's why he's on the $10. That's where that comes from. Our associate will be covered by the professional liability insurance and surety bond coverage provided for the employee of the borough, as Thomas Shannon will be a temporary employee, so that's where that part came in. Please note that New Jersey Professional Management is registered with the state of New Jersey as both an executive recruiter and temporary employment consulting service. Signed, Daniel J. Mason, President.
All right, now I have a question.
Sure.
If we do this, where does that put us with hiring other employees?
Doesn't hold us up for anything. To be clear, we are in almost our 5th month of our budget. Our budget has included those salaries of those people we did not hire all this time.
Okay.
So the cost incurred even by this or by hiring new people is really not there. I think the issue comes down to, once again, evaluating operations.
That's my
By allowing him to go in and find out what we want done, we can then determine how many people we need. Obviously, we know that some of the guys have great strengths and great weaknesses. So maybe we figured out, and what do we need to hire? You know, we've talked on occasion that maybe when we do hire, we want CDL directors. We want people with electrical skills, plumbing skills. We've had these conversations over landscaping skills. So I think this 3-month window, I think it's going to be faster than that. I don't think it's going to take that long to start to
No, I don't
evaluate.
think it'll take that long.
To evaluate and start to figure out, hey, you know what, we need another driver. One thing we can always do, and we talked about this several months ago, and that's one of the reasons we're doing this, we wanted to hire 1 or 2 more people. It didn't happen because we could not get interviews. We couldn't get things moving. So hopefully, with this management company helping us, we will get to that point.
Okay.
And we can always retro an appointment. So if we decide that we need to hire somebody next week,
Let's get to a
We
resolution.
have an action for the 5th.
Well, here's my thing. If he makes a recommendation that we need to place an ad to hire, will we do that based upon his recommendation? Just on
absolutely,
that alone?
anything you recommend.
Yes.
Well, I think council should have some input. I think council should have some.
We have to approve it.
Sure.
We have to
Well,
approve it.
I understand that, but please understand, we've been working shorthanded. We've got 2
Oh, I
people
know.
for
Oh, I know.
and we're coming into grass cutting
I
now.
know.
So it's going to get worse.
And I think that if he recommends temporary seasonal, like we've used in the past, we can do that. You know, I think we're supposed to try to go in this with an open mind. Okay.
All right.
My
So let's take
recommendation,
this.
You know,
we're looking for permanent employees. No, that's good. We're looking for the permanent CDL. I think the right answer might be that I would recommend that we wait until Tom finishes his assessment. That for the 5th, we talked with Tom on Friday, and did agree for doing 2 temporaries because they're pretty awesome. So if they have the skill set and we choose to make them permanent, then they be permanent. And if we go a different route, then we thank them for their service and they got someone who are working for us.
Okay.
But this way, I don't think we should wait for a permanent hire. We have the ability to next week hire them because Nick's definitely needs at least 2 people.
we-
We also have vacation time, and vacation just started.
Yeah.
So-
Make sure that the qualifications get met, just beyond.
And his presence there should alleviate some of the stuff that Nick has to be responsible for. You know,
Absolutely.
the requisitions, the
Yes.
purchase orders, payroll, all those things that we've had other difficulties that we don't always talk about. Those are things we need to have resolved. Okay, so we have Resolution 1573, authorizing agreement for Jersey Professional Management
I make a motion.
Consulting Services. Make a motion to approve?
I'll second that motion.
Number for that.
I got 1573.
73.
There's 3 blanks in there.
What am I writing?
Second whereas.
Execute.
I think that if you do a $2,000 finder fee and you do
So what's the amount you said?
12 weeks, comes to 31 process, 33.5.
33.5.
That's
The first
top.
line?
Fee,
Then on number
33.
1,
Uh-huh.
would be the same number, you know, so not to exceed amount, obviously. And number 3 would be the retrospect at the bottom for the newspaper.
Okay.
Yeah, oh,
That's 33.5.
Okay, so we have a resolution, a motion by Root, seconded by, okay. Motion, second.
That's
Motion by Root, second by Passio, for authorization of agreement, whereas we agreed to not exceed 32,500, and we will notify in the retrospect. Roll call.
What was that amount again?
33,500.
33
Yeah, you
That
have
was
it.
not 32.
33.5.
Great.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I have it. I thought you said 32
He
But it said
did.
32,
He
we
did.
added 1,000. Oh, not to exceed.
Ready?
Yes.
Mr. Fowler?
Yes.
Mrs. Kelly?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore? Mrs. Passio?
Yes.
Mr. Ranieri?
Yes.
And Mr. Wood?
Yes.
6 ayes.
I think Mr. Farrar should reaffirm his yes.
Yes.
All right, 6 ayes, the resolution is adopted. So what we're going to do is Ms. Moore and myself and Mr. Wright will meet with Mr. Shannon and the Public Works Department on Friday morning.
You should have did it.
And hopefully his first date will be, I haven't even looked at my calendar. When we're done, I'll look at my calendar.
Friday's catch up day, right? We don't have something to be out there for on Friday.
Oh, when we organize it.
We're gonna be
Yes.
upstairs, we're gonna be upstairs at 9:30 on Friday.
Let's do it at 8 o'clock in the morning. Is that too early?
I have to double check
Is
the
it,
calendar.
this is for who? Just us, or this is for everybody?
No, we can have a pre-meeting, but I thought we were meeting with.
We're meeting with Public Works Department.
Right,
So it's the 4 plus the entire department.
okay,
I say
Friday,
Friday between 8 and 9 o'clock.
yes.
Find out when.
Yeah, double check it. Well, I will confirm back after.
Yes, Paul, please just email me.
And I think we need to make it very clear that all members of Public Works, it would behoove them to be there on Friday's
How
meeting.
much time would you like for a pre-meeting?
Behoove?
Tell them to be here at 8, tell them to be here at 8:30, a half an hour should be enough discussion.
Okay.
Okay.
Did you hear that, Mayor?
What was that?
Peter will be here at 8,
Yeah.
and then guys can come at 8:30, that gives us a half an hour to discuss whatever we want to talk about. I think that should be enough.
All right.
All right, sounds good.
Let me know if that's gonna work, just so I can let,
That's all right with the rest of your committee?
I understand.
this is just the 3 of us.
Well, we're just going to meet as a management team.
Oh,
To go
oh,
over.
Oh, it's not the committee
oh,
yet.
oh.
Yeah. The committee, like I said, after Tom gets in, I think that once he's in, then the committee should meet. I think the director, they should really start to formulate what our goals are.
Committee sleeps till 9 a.m.
Everybody sleeps till 9. Okay, emergency temporary appropriations. This is an action item for this evening. Does anyone have a copy of it? In front of you? Then we have the resolution 1571, it's emergency temporary appropriations, because obviously we haven't passed our budget. Sewer operations, other expense, $175,000. You want to elaborate on this at all? Just carries us over.
Other expenses, to cover preliminary expenses.
So the budget is-
So the bond and budget.
So the bond numbers, okay. Is there a motion to approve this?
I so move.
I'll say. Go ahead.
Okay, motion by
I'll second.
Kelly, second by Mr. Ranieri. Is there any further discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Farrar?
Yes.
Mrs. Kelly?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Passio?
Yes.
Mr. Ranieri?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
Yes.
6 ayes.
6 ayes, okay. The resolution is adopted. Okay, what do we got next? You want to go around the table quickly? Let's start with Ms. Passio.
Okay, we have Youth Mayor and Council coming up, which will, the opening day will be May 2nd at 6 p.m. here in the Borough. And it will go on till closing, which will be May 9th on a Saturday. I'm hoping everyone can attend at least on
And everybody got
opening.
their list of who their person is?
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yes, should have. No?
Email, we got an email.
There's an email, your person
I
is
checked it last night.
Jayla Jack. No,
Oh, yeah. I think her father has something to do with the RYAA.
Girls' home.
Oh, was it, oh, okay.
So they received our phone numbers, they'll contact us.
They'll get all that information
On
on
Saturday.
Saturday
Okay.
when it's rehearsal. And then the next day is actually,
Opening.
everybody, I'll send out everything.
So whoever knows that they're going to be here, I think let Ms. Basio know, so we know who's here.
What time you want us on Saturday, 4:30, 5 o'clock?
No, it starts at 6, so, 5.
5:30?
Yeah, 5:30 is fine. Yeah,
Saturday.
that's the rehearsal.
It's just the rehearsal.
So, yeah,
The
so
more
you
important
can
date
really,
is the-
more important date is
Can
Sunday.
you send a?
I am going, yep.
She'll send.
I'll send it, yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I thought I put everything in your, I thought I put the itinerary in your mailboxes too. I thought I did, but that's okay. I'm gonna do it again anyway.
Mr. Roots been telling.
So, I can see. Let me see what else. Okay, we're just starting to discuss my committee and myself Memorial Day, and we're gonna have a meeting on Friday.
Okay.
And, that's about it.
Okay, thank you. So youth parent council is very important. You know, we're working with the school that has.
We have 18,
18 kids, which is fantastic. And the bus has to be available, and I think that's all been organized. Okay, thank you. Mr. Renee?
I think that Rich covered pretty much everything with finances. We're still working towards the 3 companies for the long-term finance and the guidance we're going to be getting there.
Do we want to appoint one of them before on Tuesday? That's not.
That's could be a possible action item, that's all right, but I mean.
Okay, maybe we'll review it. It might be an action item because we have to pick one to start the municipal bond
How do
process.
we pick? What are we going to?
We'll read them.
Okay.
We flip a coin.
Basically, they give you their hourly rates, and then, you know, one of them charges you $1,000 per,
Right.
or $1 per $1,000 a bond, and with a set fee of X, and another one charges more hourly rates, so you gotta really look at who the company is.
The borough's we've never appointed a position like that before.
Right.
So this is the first time we've ever appointed a financial
And
consultant.
again, it's kind of like, you know, when you review proposals and you go rock versus paper, you know, it's like,
Really? It's a shot.
well, no, I mean, you're going based off of history, and we don't have a lot of history here, so we'll go.
So this will come up again, we'll discuss it.
I noted our purchasing agent has used one account, so they'll have some.
So maybe we look at it and we'll make a recommendation. It's like I said, all this is to help us with the bonding.
Okay, I'll continue.
Yes?
All right, at our last zoning meeting, Keith Knight was asking for a little clarification on situations where a lot of these auto repair possibly, even home auto repair, vehicles that are not tagged, they're in front of the buildings, and they've been there for years, just sitting there. Not cars that are being worked on, the cars that aren't being worked on, just sitting there, and they're in plain view and plain sight. A couple of particular locations. But there's an ordinance, the closest that I could find, I looked up a few of those, but nothing really specifies duration of time, or maybe these vehicles should be behind a tent, or these canopies that they have if they're outside, out of plain sight. And I have an example.
Does he have any recommendations on the amendment to our ordinance? Because I think we're talking
Are they on our
about,
property?
these are dead cars, is that what you're saying, they're dead?
They're dead cars, they're eyesores, and I think he's had some complaints in local businesses.
I don't think it's unusual.
And they're on their property.
Yeah.
It's on their
So we
property.
can't use like the ordinance for that.
It's because it's on their
I
property,
think the
they're allowed to do
recommendation-
repair work. The argument is, how do you regulate, how do you know how long the car's been
Well, I
sitting?
think there's something by the police that even though it's on property, it's not a
This is an auto
registered,
repair place.
but it's not a registered vehicle.
But if it's on their property, I don't think there's anything they can do about it.
No, I think.
Well, why don't we ask
if they
Mr.
have
Rowe
an
to give us a
unregistered
recommendation
vehicle on their
on that?
property, something could be done about it.
Well, maybe he can look and see what he wants us to do. Maybe he can recommend it. We limit the duration of 6 months for
This
cars.
particular case, they don't have any place to put the vehicle behind the building, nothing like that.
But they should
Are
have,
they
they have a responsibility to get rid of a
Get rid
car
of the vehicle, Right.
after a certain period of time.
So I'll ask him for his
There
recommendation.
should be
Time
other.
frame, et cetera, if he's looking for a little guidance.
I think
I
they've
might
only
be able to
been
help
there,
him, show him what we're looking at.
they've only been there a couple of years, the previous
Yeah,
owners, they were
Yeah.
killed in the.
But I think what happens is they get these cars, and I think the process is very arduous to get rid of a car that you don't have a title. You go to there, you say it needs a new transmission, $3,000, and the person walks away. And then you have a car that you can't do anything with, and you have by law, you can't get rid of it until you get the title. So yes, I think we should ask him for his recommendation.
I will, okay, that's what I'll do, I'll start there. That was an issue that I was dealing with. Nick, you and I talked about this, I talked to Mike quickly about this, the field looks great, the RYA
the ball field. There's one picnic table on that location. It's wood, and it's green, and it's starting to rot. But in time, we may want to add a few. I know we spent a lot of money already. But I just want to know if you would consider, there's one concrete pad in the back area where we took a walk behind the new sign, the scoreboard that's up. There's already a concrete pad there, which one table could be anchored to it. It's about an $800 purchase. I wonder if it's something we want to try to get in for the season, or is it something we
Is
want
there
to
a
do?
look to do any more tables down
We've
there?
got 2 tables now.
Well-
There's 2 tables down at Public Works. There's 2 metal tables that have no use because no one could make a decision where we wanted to put them.
Oh, they're already purchased
I will
tables?
take whatever streets would give me, you know, if they want to give me picnic tables and put them in, I'll take them, I can find locations. I'm just all out of money.
I'll give them to you.
I spent my money this year already, my budget's not even out.
Are these new tables
No,
or?
they're old
they're
tables.
old
It's down
tables?
where the dog park used to be, and all we did was have kids hang out on it, so we took it out of there, and it's down there metal with the benches attached to them.
Yeah,
Still
they're
work.
Maybe move them
Yeah.
down there.
It worked out.
Now, Public Works still has because I know the benches ever get put in the minor fields.
No.
What about for soccer? The benches for the players down at soccer.
No.
Those are things we have to realize. I just let everyone know, we were down there for the Clean Communities project, there was over 170 kids down
That's
there.
awesome.
And benches need to be put down there.
What Parks and Recreation had a program and a plan with a specific person, and that specific person has been MIA.
Okay.
So,
Hopefully that'll change by next week.
yeah,
So our goal would be to get all that stuff out of the Public Works garage, because there's a bleacher down there, there's 4 benches down there, is that what it is? I think there's one bleacher left.
Bleachers down in Public Works, they have them in the garage, they don't
Definitely
have them in the
used to be.
garage.
shouldn't be bleached, not that I've never.
Let's take them out.
Maybe it's not, well, we'll go.
Benches.
I got
Family
benches,
benches.
there's a bunch of benches that need to be installed.
So I think that, maybe, I don't know, maybe you have to be a little bit involved, but you know what's down there.
You just need to
Where do
tell
they
me.
need to go?
I know that you try, and no disrespect, you reach out to them, and I know their issue with the cutting of the field, just tell me. I hate to be that way,
No,
just
well, not-
tell me
no.
and I'll try to.
I
But
also
it's-
can't occupy all of the streets department,
But hear what Tom said, all this stuff has to be emailed to him, and it'll go in queue, and it'll get
Tell
done.
me, and I'll get them to try to work on it, because I've talked to them about those benches before.
But you're willing to use Tom to do this? Yeah. Okay, so you mean him telling you you're gonna go through
Just
the,
tell me right now, before Tom comes in, even just.
Well,
this
the
week.
one thing, they did start the fence, tearing down the fence and all, and then they were gonna put up another fence. Use that fence to close in an area, that's not finished either, which they said wasn't gonna happen right away, but,
do you think that's a feasible way of doing it? Do you think that's better than anything other solutions?
I like
Or
that. Is that
temporary?
down there at the
What,
old
the
lot?
Fences. To fence that in.
No, well, what else?
Aesthetically, I'm a big fan of things looking nice.
What are we gonna put, wood, if we put wood up?
You convinced me that the fence, I said that there would have to be, there was another option.
To make it look prettier. Well, if it's a temporary solution, I think it's fine. But I think one of the issues, just to
You
digress.
guys wanna keep giving me money? I'll make everything look beautiful.
Okay, well, we'll have to just prioritize.
I'm with you.
We'll have to
I'm on Miller Lite, you want champagne?
I'm a champion.
I'll continue a couple things. This weekend, Nick and Bob and I were walking around the RYA, the Green Acres, and we saw the basketball area could use a little, at least some nets. But Bob noticed, we didn't notice, that if you look at the backboards, it says Wawa. I don't know if anybody knows any history there. Wawa approached me a couple months ago, and said, we'd like to help the town somehow. Is there any way we could help with the park behind here? I said, well, we got another park we could use some help with. And then it just happened to be coincidentally that Bob had said, look, there's Wawa on these backboards, very faint. So I'm considering approaching them and asking them, find out if they know what happened, and can they help us maybe refurbish the backboards.
You want them to donate something, this is my recommendation, make them donate garbage cans. Garbage cans that have a recycle thing next to it, because I approached them when I first got on council, and I said to them, you create 90% of the trash that comes into the RY. Can you at least give us, make the effort to help us to collect all the trash that comes from you guys?
So what are you saying, more cans at the
Yes.
The RY needs
Well,
permanently affixed
fixed
cans,
I could work.
so that liners come out and you can throw it in a
They
dumpster.
have them in front of Wawa that have trash, and then they have
Similar
the
to
two.
Permanently
They
affixed.
have the two, but when they redid those, all those red ones that they have now that are the two thing, they had previous cans. I called Wawa and said, give me your old cans. I'll take them.
It'd be nice if they gave us those red cans.
That's
Paint
what I
them
mean.
green.
Paint them green.
Just tell them to give us 100 cheats.
Yeah, that's another one.
I don't
Well,
know if she's still
whatever-
there to help. I
Yeah,
think
but
she was
that's-
pressured that week, I'm not sure, but
I think what's interesting is the fact that
Yes.
there was, the backwards had the name on it, but I agree, if they want to give us something, anything from a storage shed, now, there are people who want to donate to the RY and these organizations, we just have to get them all together and figure out how we prioritize it. But,
So we got a storage shed, cans, and we've got that.
And backstop.
Permanent, permanent.
because the backstop, the point was they had
Whatever
bomb
we
news.
want to do.
Did you notice they had a bomb news?
Probably should put it in a letter.
At least four of them had one.
So she can do it through her
It
wall.
must have been on there for 48 hours.
What it is?
Money in there
Outside
to
the
purchase like
But
that.
for real.
Trash
That's,
can, they
that's,
have holes.
that's
John.
already done.
The street,
They had one prior.
they've been doing it every year.
But nets,
But the next up, they put it on every year. It's
kids
always
can't.
Oh,
been-
yes.
Yeah.
Is put
That's
up the net.
your cheat.
They're, yeah, they put them up twice a
Chuck
year.
is putting up new nets with the
Right.
municipal alliance dam money.
Right.
Those
Like the
big
backboards is
backboards
Yeah,
are
the
starting to
backboards
rot
are all
out.
rusted,
Yeah,
you saw
They
those.
have to be sanded, at least ground down, and painted and protected from
They're all
heat.
rusted.
Or,
Or
Or
refurbished, refurbished.
Michael, did you ever put
But
all the
that should
signs
be on the
up with
list.
our wife that were ordered?
I put a bunch of them.
Clean air and
Oh, not
no
that stuff.
smoking and pitching.
I did all the, no soft toss, no smoking.
Like breathe, like, did you put up the ones that said these children are not professional
You gotta go.
players?
No.
okay,
We have all
Miss,
those down at the garage that have to get put up for you.
well, hopefully we can, are you done?
Thumbs up.
Because Miss Kelly, you can always jump back. Miss Kelly and Miss Bessie have to leave.
I have just the news that on April 18th, Patrolman Ward, Ortiz, Wooten, Corcoran, Marchese, Woolen, Amato, and Brooks were trained for bikes. Because the bicycle patrol will be going on all summer to the evening of Halloween. And now we have a lot of people trained for
I
bikes.
heard it was awesome.
Well, here's what I would
Okay.
say. Can I say
There's so
something
much
about your
more than what
department?
they thought they were gonna for that.
Eleanor, can I say something about your department? I will give gigantically huge props to the police department on this past Tuesday at 10:06 in the morning, that they raided the drug house down the street from me.
Wow.
Took the door right off the
Awesome.
hinges and raided that house, and I will
Awesome.
have to tell you that at 10:06 in the morning, in my pajamas, I was clapping, saying, thank God.
Good
it's
for
about
you.
time."
Good for you. That's great.
Miss Kelly, did you want to at least talk at all, is this an action item on our part about the cameras in the vehicles switching from
Well,
revolving?
I understand that we're supposed to get another quote. Yes.
Even though we're state contract?
I don't think it would be much to get a quote.
Okay. I think the chief has to get a quote.
Yes, he did already talk to me about that, because I
Because the
did
two
get
cars
that.
are in, and the idea is the two new cars will get the,
I've heard it to Jim to make sure that all that stuff was necessary.
So I'm not gonna do anything on that until we find out another quote. And I understand he's coming, yeah, I thought so too, but,
it's over $3,500.
Oh,
We're supposed to get at least two quotes.
yeah, so.
Yeah, I understand it, now I get it.
So anyhow,
Yeah, I see.
it's gonna be.
Good, take a picture.
They were in the lake in a boat.
Okay, rapid deployment training was done on the 23rd and the 24th. All the officers attended, and the training went very well. So that's my report.
Okay, thank you. Did you guys need to leave?
Can I do something?
Oh, you
I don't
want
wanna
to talk
vote.
about the
Before they
tournament?
leave.
Oh, you want to vote
No,
before you
nobody,
leave?
nobody
Did
approached
you
me.
want to talk about,
I'm happy about that too.
you want to talk about the DARE tournament? Yes, come on.
That's in May.
Yes.
You can bring it up at the council meeting.
Yeah.
You can always bring stuff in.
Before you guys leave.
What about
I-
the travel lodge? Did you look at the stuff at the travel lodge?
I briefly looked it over. Their abatement day's not till next 2 weeks, so it'd be tough to really enforce this without giving them
They're
a
giving
chance
30
to,
days.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the chance to
Alright.
do that, so. I would keep on them, because it sounds like some serious
Some serious issues.
issues.
Everybody's aware of what's going on at the travel lodge?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
But I would
Say-
recommend.
So if they don't take care of these problems in the next 2 weeks, what is our
It
report?
used to.
Because the code enforcement write citations, they'll be brought to court, and prosecuted.
Yeah, the
And
judge.
they'll result
I
in
have a
fines.
question. Don't they house people there, like
Section 8 or something?
Section 8 housing, there was some type of facility that was going
There's
on.
lots of different things going
No,
on.
one of those hotels was housing people.
These are different owners, these have been there about a year, these are the new
Yeah,
owners.
but there were people living there, like living in the
It's up
hotel.
for, it's
When
changing.
it was
it's
called for
changing
in,
the
I don't
rules.
know now,
Yeah,
it was.
now, definitely, there were. I'm not
Jump in.
crazy about that.
All right,
that's for
I
sure.
just want to talk about something and get a quick vote on, make sure everybody's on board with this before I move forward with it. In the last couple of years, I've been running the summer rec program. The summer rec program has been inferior to what it should be. No fault by the people running it, no fault, but just I think that in time. So what I recommend, that we're gonna switch to summer rec program and give control, we're gonna still have control of it, but the schools are gonna run it. They're gonna recommend a site director that we're gonna pay. And they recommend less counselors, but having counselors there too, approximately 5 counselors. They also recommend going younger, starting at kindergarten and not going as high, because we're losing people 7th and 8th grade. They're not coming to summer rec. They're allowed to stay home by themselves, 12, 13, 14 years old. So by talking to Mr. Iannucci, he recommends starting younger, no snacks provided. If people want snacks, they can bring their own snacks. That's a big cost that we weren't even, the $60 wasn't even paying the snacks for this. So with everything said and done, it's still under the amount. I'm not exceeding even hiring that one teacher.
So it would be one of the teachers, would be the
One of the
counselor.
teachers from their recommendation,
And who would be the counselors?
and she or he who gets this job will hire the counselors themselves.
And we would pay for the counselors.
We will pay for
We will collect the registration fee.
collect the registration, just roughly for the director, the site director, the 5 counselors, we're looking at roughly $79.20 for that, for the 6-week program. We will, if we get 100 kids, we will see $6,000.
Because we charge $60 for 6 weeks, $10
$60
for 6
for 6
weeks.
weeks.
And where would it be at?
This year it's gonna be at Bingham. Bingham has a parking lot, a playground, and a field, also a air-conditioned, gym-type all-purpose room, and an air-conditioned, arts and craft room, right in it. So they have a buzzer to go in and out. They're gonna have sign, the kids are gonna be picked up and dropped off properly, not thrown out of the car at the Harry Williams building. So it's gonna be
So
more
more control.
controlled
That's
situation.
When's it going to
The
start?
only problem is, we competed against them last year from 9 to 12. They have scholastic programs going on from 9 to 12.
Oh, you mean this is like summer school?
No, it's not a social, it's just
It's like a voluntary summer
Yeah,
school.
this is just for help, special ed and help that they offer during the summer. So what we're gonna do is change the rec program from 12 to 3 instead of 9 to 12. It's an inconvenience, it's not the greatest thing, but if we don't do this, we can't have a summer rec.
What time's the school programs?
School is from 9 to 12. So they're gonna, if they wanna do a full day, they can actually register with the school, get scholastics up until 12, and then
And then
12
stay
to
for
3 they
the
can do for
And
rec.
just bring their own lunch.
And bring their own lunch and snacks and waters.
I bet a lot of them will do that.
Well, I think that one of the things we're learning is that we don't pair up with the school to get things done. They're the avenue for us to communicate with these kids and the parents. Well, I think Ms. Passio and Mr. Ranieri have noticed that it's tough to get these kids without teachers' help. And I think by empowering the teachers to pick the counselors, pushing the students, I think it'll be a successful program. The big question is how many students total. It's like, it's what happens,
Right,
there must be a limit if you're only gonna have 5.
2 years ago, we were at 70 some. Last year, I think we were at 30, almost 40, which was ridiculous. So hopefully this will help get that up, you know.
We should make arrangements to have a lunch truck go there.
Remember the Girl Scouts used to have a hot
I'm
dog
serious,
cart?
like, have a lunch truck show up, they could,
Honey, don't you
For
remember the
kids
Girl
to go
Scouts
for
had
lunch.
a hot dog cart?
why?
When? No.
We're trying to,
That doesn't cost
you've been to the
you
casinos
anything.
lately,
You find somebody
they
that
clap their
has-
hands.
You find somebody that has a lunch construct, you're not doing it.
I will consult with the school and see what,
I mean, like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, no.
I'll get my cell phone friends.
but then, you know, that's where I gotta sharpen everything, but I just wanted the council's, approval to go on with this. If everybody was against it, I wasn't gonna waste any more time with it, but,
There you go.
so if I could just get everybody, you know, I guess a vote.
Michael, I think we have to try it.
Okay, Ms.
I
Kelly?
like the idea that we
I
have
think it's a
control.
good idea.
Yeah.
I like that.
Ms. Moore, like that?
When's it going to
Yes.
start?
Hearing?
The dates are gonna be June 22nd to July 31st. Now, their program goes to July 24th, so there's gonna be a week of just rec, because I didn't wanna move it down to 5 weeks.
Now, I guess the only question is, are they going to take the registrations, collect the money, or do you want them to come to the borough?
We're gonna do that.
We're gonna work that part out.
And we're-
Joyce said she really wants the kids to come here.
Oh, I knew she said that. I knew it.
But, Joyce, if I'm, this way, the kids, the counselors will only pick up the applications here. They won't come and bring them here, I'll make sure they do that with the
The teacher will hire.
Yeah, so you don't have to do any of that.
Mr. Wright, you don't see any problems with that, right?
No, my only question is whose employees are
Right.
Ours.
We're
It'll be
paying.
our employees.
they? So
So,
where does that leave us with the JIF recommendation
Yeah, that's
for
another.
Training.
the background checks and?
right, in the training.
Did we do that before?
We did not, and that's.
And that's-
But
So we'll make
if
this
it's
teacher do it.
required-
We'll make
if
the
it's
teacher do it.
required,
Get pictures.
Well, require.
Well, we did the pictures, they did they went to the
Mr. Farrell, okay with
detective
it? Okay, so.
to get their pictures done, they always did that.
Okay, so
As long as the
the
councils
little
are trained.
details, we gotta figure out the details.
Yes.
Because one of the concerns when Mr. Root told me about this was when they said only 5 counselors and 1
I don't want to
teacher.
cancel it, it's going to be the teacher's daughter coming in, and
But
she
that's
doesn't.
okay.
You think it's
I
okay?
think it's okay.
I don't think it's okay.
She's got control,
She has control. See, you give somebody control, they own it.
but
They're
the
gonna
teachers
steal
you're
it.
talking about, they don't have daughters.
Yeah. They don't have daughters. You know, but they get to pick the people, because you know why you want to pick somebody, because you own that person and you pick that person. I think so, especially the teachers. Didn't we figure that out? When we asked for kids to come to us to get on youth parent council, we got 2. When the teachers pushed it, we had 20. They have control over their students. The teacher is going to be here, is going to be their teacher when they go into 5th grade, right? They're not going to be act bad when they're in front of this teacher. We were hiring somebody who was just, you were there, you're the one who criticized them.
Well, I'm
the
just
most,
saying, we're
we
just
had no
talking
control.
about what JIF will allow,
Well, we just have to follow the rules.
or
The rules are they gotta take a picture,
follow the
they gotta take
guidelines.
the class.
Right.
And they
What
have to,
parameters are we using to advertise for counselors?
we will talk to the school and see what they want.
What
They want
age?
all kids over 16 years
Yes.
old,
16?
Yeah.
over 16.
Let the schools
What's the
continue to
cutoff?
They're
say.
still our employees.
Kids are, we're still, I guess we're still keeping it up to 8th grade, but so it's gonna be pretty much kindergarten, 8th grade.
All right, so
Well,
you
you said
definitely
cut it
want
back.
to get it.
Well, they just, we can cut it back, we don't have to cut it back, but, you know, there's gonna be 1 or 2.
My experience-
people walking in 8th grade.
The kids that are older, the girls sit and text each other,
Yeah.
and they don't even do anything.
They don't even talk to each other, they text.
They text across the table. I see, keep it up to 6th graders. They're recommending from kindergarten to 6th. The older kids don't want to be
I would
involved.
follow the recommendation.
7th and 8th grade don't participate. I think we had 1 kid that was no longer there.
Thank God.
What about,
But the question is, do we collect the money?
You don't get another kid.
how old is your boy?
Is that a concern?
More than say 8?
I think that we should have a minimum amount of kids.
What?
come,
Yeah.
and a maximum.
So
Here's
at
the
the
point is, if
7th
you don't have a
grade,
minimum amount of kids, you have to pay the
and next
counselors.
year he'll be in 8th
So whatever
grade?
your number is, if Rich says that our bottom number is, we can put out $3,000, and we need to collect $4,000, which equates to, you know,
So
50
are you
kids,
still
or
gonna
vice
post it
versa.
up to 8th graders or not?
Get feedback not to,
I think if they're recommending younger kids, why wouldn't we take the recommendation?
6th grade.
See, the school is telling us what we should do, why would we not go with that?
That's exactly right, I totally agree. Get your money's worth, let them do their job.
And if it doesn't work, we're gonna say, well,
It's
you
their fault.
told us,
But like I said, Ms. Joe, in 7th and 8th grade, we had 1 kid.
Delegate, delegate, delegate.
and it was chaos, Patty, chaos.
I'm all for it, I think it's a great idea, and if the school is willing to take this responsibility on,
And I think it's only gonna be a Bingham this year only because Volts is getting
And then
major,
we'll move the, if everything works, then we'll move the bolts next year.
because.
It's a better building.
They're doing work at bolts this year. They're getting air conditioners put in, new roof. So,
So the registrations are still at the Borough Hall?
we haven't decided that. That's the question he's gonna find out.
So is the big challenge just GIF and some of those things?
I don't think the GIF's a challenge at all. We just require them to do it. We just have to throw that out there, but they just have to do the class. We're gonna pay
I
for it.
gave you, I sent you that email. Mike knows all about the
You gotta go.
kids.
Right there, you know,
Right there.
What's the minimum amount of kids in order to?
we're gonna figure that out. We'll do the math.
Well, I'm gonna sit down and tighten everything up. Now that I got
I think
permission,
it's
I'll
1 on
sit down
10.
and tighten everything up, and I'll let you
What
know. as
counselor
soon as we
at every 10?
Then we're talking about money wise.
Oh,
If we don't get 40 kids, it's a
Oh,
big bill.
okay.
Right.
You know, and the max might be 80 kids, I don't know, things like that. We learned that lesson with the size of the bus we had.
No, please.
Okay, that's all I need. Thank you. You guys can leave.
Absolutely, absolutely, like, you got my vote.
Is that it?
We were, Ms. Moore was next.
I got nothing, I'll wiggle down.
You got nothing?
And,
Business
there's a
Mr. Farrell,
thank
then
you
we'll
card
go to
going
professionals.
around here somewhere.
Everything Mark talked about.
So Orchard Avenue,
You find a thank you card, just.
The flashing lights are at St. Teresa's, I don't know if you've seen it, it looks good.
Yeah.
There is a problem though.
Okay, good.
They shrunk the lanes down to make it more so people can't park. Now, church the other day, people parked there, so that threw those people out
Yes.
into the yellow lanes now.
Oh.
So we got, I'm gonna call the girl tomorrow, she said if you've seen a problem, I'm gonna tell her about it.
Yeah, I think that they thought we were,
Gonna paint that yellow?
yes.
I
we're
asked
good.
that.
Oh,
I asked
really?
them.
So then why did they paint that yellow?
Here's why, because I said, you are painting it yellow. She goes, no, we're not. She goes, something we don't do.
That'll be a borough ordinance.
That's what I
Right.
thought she
That's
said
what
we
she
had.
It'll be a borough ordinance.
Might go-
Do we wanna do that?
She said,
You
she
have
would
to
go with
do
no
that.
parking signs first, and see how that works. That doesn't work, then
Did you get?
Does Father Joe, does St. Teresa know that we're gonna make that no parking in front of
What
them?
about parking for a long time ago? They-
well, it's, yeah,
Funerals are they're gonna do it.
Gardeners Park's there.
But they started Black Horse Pike.
Yeah, it's just in front of the school, so it's limited to where they're parking. It's not like eliminate all the parking.
Yeah, no, you have to
She
eliminate all
had,
the parking.
yes.
Have you been there?
Yeah.
They
They
said,
changed
yeah,
the traffic
it's a
pattern.
traffic pattern. You can't park.
To protect the pedestrians.
They put a
walking.
line that now you
You
cannot
can't
park
park there.
on that side of the street.
Right in front of the
They
church.
park all
yes.
over, and take it, I mean, it's, you know, it's.
At
Well, why don't we
that
start with
time,
the
at
no
that
parking
time, they
signs?
said that they were,
Well, that's it. I mean, it's not convenient, but it's safer. The people
And-
crossing now. they
Yes,
can't
it
do
is, I agree, I agree.
and the
You
police
should be
have
walking
to
through
enforce
cars.
it.
When there's a funeral, it's,
They're not gonna be able to park
They're
there
not
when there's,
gonna be able to
no,
park
they're
there.
not. They'll have to park on the Black Horse Pike. They can park there.
Or the schoolyard.
Or the schoolyard, there's a schoolyard.
And then filter out, close,
Yeah.
just stop the street.
they'll figure it, gardeners will figure it out.
Every funeral.
Gardeners will figure it out.
But we definitely need to figure that out. you know.
Another thing is, I talked to Mark, the bike path, Bowers Avenue, proposal there, and he said that's something you're gonna have to figure out if we have the money to do, right?
The 2015 budget, we're gonna be wrestling later.
Oh, everybody's,
But I mean,
you're
Don,
trying to,
like,
I want more money.
Yeah, but I'm saying.
And surplus. That's surplus. We need it with the surplus next year.
Mayor, we have 20 kids. We have 20 kids.
I thought you said 18.
We have 18.
But because we didn't have,
Always 20.
because we didn't make it very clear.
It was very
Our
clear.
map-
It was made very clear.
Big gun trouble.
Was it clear enough? Because
How
we got
many
20.
meetings do you have to make a?
We're gonna go down to
something clear?
16 next year, max.
No, we're going to 10 next year.
Really?
Yes.
Bob still talking.
Can
I'm sorry, Bob.
That's
I'm so sorry. This-
I don't think there's a project more important than Bowers Avenue.
All messed up.
The water.
These people are living under that, paying taxes and having to hold that water on their property. I just think it's.
Well, what can we do about it? I mean,
Not
Mark-
finish
Mark
Oak-
already.
Not finish Oakland Avenue would be the first thing.
What was that?
Not finish Oakland Avenue. We have to prioritize. It's really gonna come down to prioritizing. Mr. Wright, Mr. Wright has made it very clear that we can borrow as much money as we like, but the consequences, we just reduced taxes this year. The consequences could be raising taxes above the 2% cap if we did that, which we don't necessarily want to do.
Legally allowable.
It's legally allowed. It's actually, it's not recommended, but it's legally allowed. So we have to prioritize.
You're looking
So-
at that election, I'd say. I'd say.
No, this year's done. This year's done. The argument would be, if this year, if we felt that once we start to get our numbers together and say we feel that,
Well, then I'll
hey,
put it on your-
we only have
I'm not
$250,000.
saying this year, but I'm saying it's something.
But if we only have $250,000 this year for roads, which Mr. Wright might not agree, where does it go? Does it finish Oakland? Does
Yeah.
it start Bowers? Does it finish Washington? Remember, we didn't finish the last block of Washington.
Which is very bad.
No, this is
So when do we vote?
heavy weighs the crown,
You're
right?
right,
Should we
it's
make
about
a decision?
completion, finishing the task.
Should we make a firm decision on that?
I think once we get a little tighter, now that the budget's done,
Okay.
and we know where we're at, I think we know where our surplus, we can start to look at what our surplus might be for next year. And Mr. Wright, this whole selling the bond, this is a big part of it. That's why I would argue we should pick somebody by Tuesday, because to get this municipal bond stuff done,
We have
if
to
our
have-
interest rate comes at 2% or 3%, that's a huge difference, and things like that. So that's gonna determine our long-term debt payment. But that's still a long-term debt
When
payment.
you have to, one of the things we have to consider is when you have to pay payment.
Yes.
So tax bill, you have to, tax quarter, right now, most of our debt service payments are around a tax quarter, because you get money from residents, you have the cash flow to pay. You don't want to have a $400,000 debt service payment, which is double what we have now, because we're going to be rebonding, plus you have the interest that goes with that.
So that really comes down to not just this year, but future years. If we do this bond for $7 million this year, it's $400,000 payment for debt service for that bond. In 2 years, we have the 2 old ones that fall off. But if you take another one, now you're putting another 2 on top of 4. So
We have to blend all this.
it's
It's not that bad. Don't get me
Something
wrong.
has a 12-year
It's not
useful life,
terrible.
and the life cycle of the bonds, it gets complicated, but, at the end of the day, it's, what are we gonna pay
Like
this
right now,
year?
we put $350,000 of our surplus into our budget. The first year I was on council, do you remember that, how much money we put in? You weren't here. but do you
Definitely,
remember?
we put off 95%.
We put 700,000 in. And the idea was, you would tax the people this money, you had the money, why leave it in an account? Why cut services and do that? So we threw it all that year. And it actually worked out okay, we were very lucky.
It's a similar situation where you had recouped prior year money.
We were able to
as
recoup some money.
budgeted.
The argument, though, is what happens if you end up with a shortfall? You've heard about this in other municipalities. What if one year we have a $500,000 shortfall? What do you do? And things like that. So,
Hoagie sale.
I'm for that.
All right, we have to go.
Yeah.
okay, thank you, guys. We're gonna go to the professionals and we're done.
Oh, okay.
They hate it.
Are you ready? We do, we just love
They
this.
hate it.
Yeah.
Mr. Bayshore, would you like to elaborate on your report?
I'm hostess.
I emailed everybody a copy of the status report and also gave a hard
What she
copy.
did this afternoon, 4 o'clock. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mark.
Y'all just leave.
Before 6, it's always back.
It's only Mark.
You wanna speak in their microphone and then we'll,
Okay, Scott.
this way we'll get it. What's that? Really? We're not gonna sit there.
Brian. Oh, Scott, sorry, Brian. Thanks, Brian.
Singley Avenue, last month we were authorized to do the work. Survey's complete, it's currently in design. It should be going out to bid within the next 2 to 3 weeks, I would say, depending on if there's any complications in design. Hopefully,
That's an interesting one. I give a number and the proposal comes in $9,000 higher.
What's that? You make
If
it
the amount of money was available.
For money to.
Yeah, but he's doing that, you don't know what the numbers are gonna come in at, we don't know. We'll see.
Go ahead, Mark.
I need another vacation, Mark.
I know. Borough Hall Space Planning, our architecture department is supposed to be setting up a pre-con meet, or a kickoff meeting, and I'm trying to get a schedule coordinated with everybody.
Joyce is available, I'm available.
I know.
We're waiting for.
There's keywords in there. Nothing new on the Harry Williams or the parking lot at this point. South Oakland Avenue, we already talked about. Once we're authorized, we'll go ahead with the full survey and full design, and we can break it up into, basically, if you look at that map in the back, we'll just add an alternate 3, which will be from Charles Avenue to East Asian Road. And we'll put it all out to bid and see what happens. And by that time, Rich might know what the matching numbers are we're working with.
How do you say will be done?
Plus $9,000.
And on the infrastructure trust, Rich did get a letter from DEP, we have to reply to it, so I'm gonna be helping him out with that response. I do have to, what's that?
Writing response first?
Yes, I'm ready, so you can print it out on Borough letterhead.
There you
and
go.
sign it.
Just making sure we're on the same page.
Yes, and there is one item that I have to have Len take a look at, and it has to do with just the borough making a statement that they own the property or they have easements to the property we're going to work on. So I coordinate with Len's office on that part of it. That's all I really have in my report. There was something the mayor asked me to talk about, which was Cali Court.
I did want you to
What
talk
act-
about Cali Court.
What did you want me to talk about?
Anything you can tell us, you know, the residents there have had to deal with the fact that the street has not been dedicated back to the borough.
Okay.
Better should be borrowing, billing for all the snow plowing we've done before we do this, though I agree with you, it is a negotiation on the light issue. We need to, I think we need to take the bond and finish the work.
I will bring you up to date. On October 29th of 2008, they asked for a bond reduction, which we made a recommendation to reduce their bond to $87,337.50. The borough should still be holding that bond because we never made a recommendation
Yes.
to reduce it in total. In January of 2012, the applicant asked to get off their bond. We did a bond release punch list, and there are 21 items on that punch list. 6 of them have to do with the pump station that was never,
Yeah.
so that's where we stand.
So we didn't release any more of that 87,000,
No. So the borough should still have an $87,000.
and they never finished the punch list, or they never called you back for final inspection.
Then, well,
I don't believe it's.
we went out in the past 3 months to look at it. I don't know.
So what happened in the
I don't
past
think
3 months?
Nothing. Nothing's happened in this 21 list.
Okay, so, council, we would want to say, we're taking your bond, we're gonna finish the work. Is that what we should do?
That would be up to the solicitor.
Well, I would, if that's a recommendation, I think we do, you know, because we're at a point where we have residents that are there, the property, like I said, the street has not been dedicated back to us, pump station has not been completed properly, the homeowners association has not been created, 21 items, I know most of them, and, I get emails, and I have a little, my email, and I have under citizens complaints, and I stick them in there, and I'm very familiar with that issue, and I know there's a lighting issue there. I'm a big fan of closure, so if we're now from 2008 to 2015, I think we should close it out. And we have the 87,000, now we don't have to use all the 87,000, we can use whatever it takes to finish it, and then give the money back, right?
I would need to look at exactly what it
I
says.
think we're simplifying that process.
Yeah.
It took us a year and a half to get the money to Paramount. or
It's significantly
Paramount subs.
oversimplified.
So
I need to take a look at.
What? It's in the check
You're
account.
No,
You're quick, you're a little leader.
So there's a legal process where you have to put the bond company on notice.
Yes.
And I'd say
Go for it. No,
Tuesday.
start the process, I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's not, yeah, it doesn't,
Tuesday.
you just take it.
You know, I personally know the guy who built the development, I know him, I don't know why he's not getting it done. I really don't know. I do know human nature, and human nature is procrastinate. Human nature is kick the can. Until we threaten,
Notice comes out.
nothing's gonna happen. So I say we threaten, I'm saying on a speaker that I take all the money and we go finish the project. So I say, whatever we gotta do, take it, and get it done.
Is that enough to finish the project?
I think it's good.
We were looking to start that.
Yeah.
County Court's that little court right off the shoe.
Cadillac Court is the newest development in the borough, where half of it was in Barrington.
Oh, okay.
On Lauren Lane, and the other half, it was 2 gentlemen who built it. One gentleman, one of the builder is still alive, the guy who was the developer passed away. And he was the one, I think he was more involved in this aspect of it. And so, it's just been lingering. And their attorney's a very nice guy, I talked to him one
Usually
time.
once the price goes out, things happen
Yeah.
pretty quickly.
So is that a done deal? Is it finished it?
Well, the idea would be to first send the letter saying we're gonna take the bond.
Yeah, and usually once the price goes out to take the bond, it's amazing how quickly things then get moving. But the first step would be to make that.
That's it.
Just like
Right.
that.
So threat first, and then next month we then move the action.
They'll never be able to get another bond.
There's a fence, there's a pump station, there's a homeowners association, it's very.
Attorney?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Homeowners association is very.
We will, I will, got it down.
Let- let-
First step.
We prefer-
I'll have to go look. That goes back to minutes.
Start the project.
No, threat.
We need a lend letter.
It's a Len letter. Len is never,
When did the project actually start?
do you know how many phone calls I get from his letters?
So they're
That's
effective.
gonna be what?
March of 06.
That's good.
We just dictate, so they just.
March of 06.
So it'll be the
Mr. Baker, did you have anything else?
That was all I had to talk about, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
Too long?
Thank you, I'm good, I'll start that process, but, one letter.
I do have another question since we're talking about old stuff. Do you recall, was it you and I who spoke, I don't think so, about the property behind the RYA? Your other associate, he had found out that the corporation was defunct. Originally, the owner, we thought was deceased. He's no longer deceased. He's now a defunct corporation. He was going to give us back a quick claim deed. But Mr. Wood said that a defunct corporation has no ability to sign a quick claim deed. So
Sounds like a.
it's a circle. And so all I'm trying to get at is, as we have a municipal lien, we need to foreclose and take the property. We're on year 3. We have a baseball field on it, so. Part of baseball. I think.
Continue the road over.
I don't think the neighbors would like it.
Wait, do the bike path.
I don't think the neighbors, neighbors would not like it.
I think the bike path would be.
Manor Court, right? No, the neighbors would not have it. Cut throughs would not play.
No, do it all the way down.
We talked about that.
That would be the best thing.
Do I need to read this?
That was Patty left.
Well, no, we'll do this in communication at the regular
Are
council.
we good?
We have good and welfare.
You got anything to say, Val?
This portion of the meeting is open to the public. Anyone wishing to speak, please come to the microphone, state your name and address. Seeing no one, come on, pal.
I just thought of
Oh,
Come on.
yeah, you're killing
Give
it.
her too much time.
Make sure it's a public works question.
831 North Oakland Avenue. All the holidays fall on Mondays. Monday is yard pickup.
Yes,
They're going to do it
they'll push
Tuesday,
it to the next day.
just the next
Yeah,
day.
they'll
They're
push
not going
it.
to.
That should be our standard form.
Our standard form is push it to the next day.
Okay.
Absolutely.
that answers.
Not a
Thank
problem.
you.
In the newsletter.
There's a newsletter.
Could be a thick
It's
newsletter.
about 18 pages.
I make a motion to close good and welfare.
Okay.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good and welfare is closed. A motion to adjourn?
Make a